everybody, how's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know who it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you by My Song Day Rock 2000. And today, wishing you a happy Tuesday because it is May 19th and it looks like for the coronavirus, things are finally starting to open back up here in the United States. But before we get into the meat and potatoes, because I got another band to interview, and you got a nice interview for today. So before we get to that, this is my shameless plugs. So if I had advertising, this is where it would go, but because I don't right now, still having trouble getting some of that. This is where I'm going to plug all my stuff. So please follow My Song Day Rock 2008 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, because those are all our social media sites. You'll find out anytime anything gets released. You'll find out anytime like podcast episodes, YouTube videos. The 30-second song of the day feature will get released on those platforms as well. Twitter, it's really easy to follow us. Instagram is our biggest one with almost 2,500 followers right now. So on there, you can also get the questions that we ask. You can answer those. We love talking to people on there as well as every other source. We also have our IGTV videos, which is a behind the scenes look at what we're doing here at My Song Day Rock 2008, along with our Instagram live stream, which happen every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central Time. That's a time where you can come hang out with us and we can just talk about music and have a fun time. So also, please subscribe to the YouTube channel because our YouTube channel is where you can find these podcast videos along with our YouTube videos, such as me trying to figure out if I like Dance Gavin Dance or not, my album reviews of stuff like Asking Alexander's Like a House on Fire, Triviums What the Dead Men Say, and many, many more. So go subscribe to that. All links description below. And for the Chord Progression Podcast, you can also listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. So now let's get on into it with the featured presentation. So I was actually looking for bands to try and be like, okay, I'm trying to get some more bands in the podcast, and I wasn't sure who to get. All of a sudden, this band called Igneous Sons out of Singapore, yes, I said Singapore, reached out to me and said, hey, we just released a new single, man. Can you go check it out and maybe feature it? I'm like, okay, so let's take a listen to it. It's called Murder Machine. So I took a listen to it and I was like, this kind of has that like Rage Against the Machine, Killing the Name vibe, but it's like also grungy at the same time. It's got a punk rock style to it. I'm like, there is so much going on here that I really like it. And I messaged back to him saying, hey guys, two things. One, I like the song. I will feature it as a Song of the Day selection. It will be July 11th. So if you guys forget, you're going to hear it at some point in the future. And then I said, well, would you guys like to be on the Chord Progression Podcast? We can talk all about the music, talk all about the band. We can have some fun. And the band was like, yeah, let's do it. So we figured out a time that would work for us because they're 13 hours ahead of me over in Singapore. I'm here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the United States. They're 13 hours ahead of me. So I woke up super early so that I could get all my stuff in and then prepare. And then boom, we were ready to go. And this interview went almost 2.5 hours, but it was a fantastic 2.5 hours because we went through so much. In this episode, guys, you get to figure out exactly who these guys are, the Igneous Sons. You get to figure out all about how their influences have shaped their music, where they want to go with the rest of their music, what it's like to be a rock band in Singapore and in Southeast Asia. You get to look at the Southeast Asian music scene as well. On top of that, we talk a lot about what's going on over in the world and just kind of have some fun with that. And ooh, look at the background over here. Looks like stuff's moving around like, oh my God, I'm a TV. But enough with that. So get prepared for one hell of an interview with Igneous Sons out of Singapore. So are you guys ready? Let's get into it. So let's go. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast, you guys always bring on great bands here that are emerging in the scene of rock, metal, and other subgenres. And I've been kind of going around the world for some of these, and we're reaching new corners of the globe for this one, where we have a band from Singapore here on with us today. So please welcome the band Igneous Sons. Guys, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
All right, so before we get started, I know we did this maybe about 3 minutes ago, but can you please introduce yourselves again to the listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast so they know who you are, a little bit about yourselves, and we'll just jump right onto it after that.
Okay, I'll go first. My name is Ray. I'm the vocalist of the band. Yeah.
Hi guys, I'm Will. I'm the bassist of the band.
I'm Archie. I'm the guitarist of the band.
I'm Manuel. I'm the drummer of the band.
All right, well, thank you guys. And just so everyone has a little bit of a context of how we got connected with Igneous Sons and these guys, they actually reached out to me to potentially have their new song called, man, I already forgot the name of it, Murder Machine, as a featured song, as a Song of the Day selection. I listened to it and we got them set up for sometime in July just to kind of go inside with what we already have going. So you will definitely hear that later down the line. So if you, for some reason, forget about these guys, yeah, you're going to get remembered in a couple of months or about 2 months-ish. So you won't be able to forget them. So we're going to start this out. And after listening to your guys' music, it definitely has influence within grunge music and hard rock. So what I kind of want to know is when you guys were starting this band and really starting to form your sound, what type of influences were you going off of? And why did you settle on the sound that you did?
You want to go first, Ray?
Yeah, sure. I think initially when we started, like we just wanted to like play on the strengths of each of the members because we weren't friends before. We actually just met online and just like decided to just try out as a band. So like personally, my voice is more suited to like grunge music. Like I sang a lot of I did a lot of like Nirvana, you know, like Stone Temple Pilots, like all these good bands, man. Like Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam's a huge one. Yeah. So we
One
started
more.
out. Huh?
Audio Slave.
Audio Slave. Yeah. R.I.P. Anyway, yeah. So when it started out, like because my voice was like more suited to grunge music, like we actually went in that direction a bit, and then like, we actually went around and we kind of just like try to work in everybody's like influences and stuff. So I think you should just go around and like everybody just give your own influences.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine.
So William.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll continue. So basically, we met online at this forum, and four of us get together. At first, we do not have any direction on what genre that we are heading to. But after jamming a few rounds, then we felt comfortable playing grunge and hard rock. So we decided to stay put to this genre, and unknowingly we started writing some songs which are more prone to grunge genre. So basically, to sum up this, I think four of us, we have our own interest in music. We are from a different background, but when we come together, we can write songs that we have we admire, that like those idols like Chris Cornell, Chester Bennington.
We just try to mix that. We try to mix like all our interests together. That's the yeah.
And when it comes down to a lot of the major, like a lot of bigger bands, and a lot of bands I've talked to as well, everyone has a little bit of a different influence in there, whether it might be someone's got more of a hard rock influence, someone has more of a grunge and more that like post grunge style influence that's more of just the, you know, more consistent rock today with bands like the Foo Fighters, Stone Temple Pilots, Queens of the Stone Age. See, there's somewhere around that era. Then you kind of can get more into hard rock as well. You might have someone that has more of that pop punk, skate punk, ska music background as well. But when it comes to that, when you have a bunch of different backgrounds, you're going to be able to you're able to play around with all those different styles, because someone's going to want to be writing more in a style of maybe, let's say, ska music, and someone's going to want to write more in that grunge style. So eventually what's going to end up happening is it's going to blend into something where you're going to have a little bit of an influence here, but you're going to have maybe a major grunge influence, but you're going to have a little bit of like a ska beat somewhere, like a little bit of a ska instrumentation package, a little bit towards the end of the song that might mix in really well. You don't know, but if you guys didn't have different influences, you wouldn't be able to potentially mold so many different styles that you guys like in a one song and create something that really creates more of that Igneous Sons sound.
Yeah. Sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Like for myself, I'm more of a metal background, so I listen more to stuff like Trivium, Megadeth, Nevermore. You know, the heavier stuff. But I think it's like when we come together and jam and everyone have different ideas, and it just gets mixed up, and just see what comes out of all of this mixture.
Yeah, myself as a drummer. Before I joined them, I really like to play the songs of Lamb of God, As I Lay Dying, all the metalcore. And then when we are trying to create some of the music, we try to blend in our from what genre are we playing before. So we try to blend it all in our new songs.
That makes sense. And it's just you guys are working together and figuring out what works well. Now, I kind of want to just jump in a little bit more of this background stuff for each of you guys. And I want to go to Archie first, just because you brought up Trivium, and Trivium released their new album, What the Dead Men Say, about 3 weeks ago. So
Yeah, man,
I think
love
you know
it.
where I'm going with this question. What did you think of that album?
Yeah, I fucking love it, man. I mean, I don't know if you're a Trivium fan or so, but
He is.
I think
I saw his.
I mean most of the Trivium fan would think like Shogun is the best one, and I think this one is the second best. Like, yeah, it's really there, and the drumming is amazing. I think they are really like they're just doing what they like to do. You know, they're not following some specific formula, and I think that's a great part about them. It's awesome.
Yeah, and that one, they were really following their own formula when it came to what they wanted to do. They wanted to bring in different elements from every single album that they brought in. And I mean, I listened to it. I made a whole entire review video for it. Out of 10, I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. Really like the album, and it's a strong contender in the top tier albums for the year already. So I want to get your take on that. I want to jump over to Manuel on this one, because you brought up that you were brought up, listening to more of like that metalcore style. You brought up As I Lay Dying. So the question I have for you is, when you were getting into music and you got into the metalcore style, what was the thing that made you like metalcore and sort of really become in tune with that genre?
For that one, because in playing metal, tempo is everything. It's very important. Most importantly, if you are playing with a band, live shows and all those stuff. So playing metal, you should keep the tempo moving. You should not make mistake, especially for metals, right? They keep on playing the double pads kinds of stuff all the way through the whole song or most of the song. So yeah, I keep on practicing those kinds of music, and yeah, always listening to their songs. Keep the tempo going.
Yeah, so you're trying to do something like, especially with the double kicks, because the double kicks are something that when I listen to music, I'm always a sucker for. I love the double kick. When I was trying to play drums as a kid, I could never get the double kick down. However, I was like 12 or 13 at the time, so my legs just wouldn't go that fast. But when listening to music...
Easy.
When listening to music, is like Trivium as an example with their drum fills with the heavy double kicks. You listen to a band like Killswitch Engage, which goes with those heavy double kicks all the time. And on As I Lay Dying's most recent album, which was absolutely fantastic, they used a good amount of them throughout the whole entire thing. And it kept up that tempo, kept up that pace, and it just kept the energy high throughout the whole entire thing. That just... when you listen to it, I mean, you're just going to constantly be up for the challenge. You're going to constantly want to keep listening because your energy level is just so high going through it.
Yeah, correct. Constant practice, really, especially for the drummer. You should keep on listening, practicing those kinds of music all the time.
Oh, easily. You want to make sure your skills are perfectly in tune so that you're gonna be up on stage. If you're gonna be doing something that has more of that metalcore background with those, I mean, your legs are gonna be going, and it's gonna be like absolutely nothing. It's just gonna be it's gonna feel natural, while your arms are doing something completely crazy, and it's gonna be like, well, who knows what's going on below? Like basically, like from what you can't see, and then there's your legs just constantly going like as fast as they possibly can.
Yeah. This one is like a cardio workout.
Oh yeah, I mean,
songs.
I would say I'm pretty sure by the end of your show, if you're going to be doing a lot of double kicks and whatnot, I mean, you're going to be drenched with sweat, and at the end you're going to be like, okay, someone get me a beer. Could really use one right now.
Yeah.
Before I went after.
Do you want to share how you practice drum at home? Even you don't have a drum set, how do you practice it?
Usually I just play by tapping off my legs, because practicing double pads, I do have a double kick pedal here, and I place this DIY drum pads in the wall, so I can keep on playing myself. Yeah.
You just gotta.
This is very important.
You just have to figure out how to innovate and kind of, if you're not able to really like practice with your normal kit, just kind of figure out a way to put something together, whether it's an electronic kit where you're just gonna maybe have something set up the same way, but I mean, you're not going to hear the same sound just because, you're hitting pads every time. Or if if you really need to get innovative, get a bunch of plastic buckets and just start banging on them.
Yeah. Because every time I do some what do you call it, shadow playing, I call it myself shadow playing.
Shadowbox.
If I hit some of the pillows, for example, pillows, there's a snare sound on my mind, tom sound in my mind. It's like playing the whole drum set.
Man, it's like I said, shadow playing, like what Ray was saying, shadow boxing. It's kind of the same thing where you're just trying to keep up with your shadow. So it's like you're trying to keep up that, but like basically it's built for pace when it comes to the shadow. It's like you're trying to keep up the same pace, and you're trying to basically beat your shadow to it, even though it's gonna always get there the same time you do. You're just trying to beat it there. Just go, yeah.
Yeah, correct. That's true.
Very understandable. We're gonna go over to we'll go over to William on this one. So when it came to growing up, how did you get into the music that you got into?
How did I get to the music I got? Okay, so basically I started off by listening to punk rock. So most of my influence are by Green Day, Sum 41, and all those old school rocks. And I do listen to some Japanese rock bands, which are more to like a lot of slapping bass, which I really like. That's one of my influence to write the song for our new singer, Murder Machine. If you notice the bass slapping and on the intro, it's actually I got the influence from the band Chord. Fieldy was one of my main influence to slapping. And throughout the journey as a musician, I discovered there's also another genre called metal. Metal, to me, I'm still learning how to play the notes correctly and up to the and in sync with the tempo. So because metal, there is a lot of difficulties in terms of techniques that you need to. There's a lot of notes that you need to take care of. Because as a bassist, you don't really play so much notes in a bar. Yeah. So basically, that's how I progressed as a musician. Every day was during this lockdown period, I listened to a lot of stuff. Basically, just to like gain some ideas like for our songwriting, putting in more styles, more genres, which we want to do in our upcoming song. Yeah.
I'd say understandable, especially when you get towards, when you said you start out more in that punk rock kind of area when you're talking about bands like Green Day, and then you get a little more of that pop punk style with Sum 41. When it comes to just some of how the bass is going to drive with that, especially when you can look at more of that, I would say the earlier years of Green Day and Sum 41, because especially earlier Green Day, they had more of that punk influence to them. Now it's a little bit more poppy. Versus Sum 41, they had really a lot of that pop punk influence in there. The bass was going to be a little bit rougher, so just trying to figure out how that was going to work in. It's a little bit tougher to figure out, but then when it comes down to it, going forward, listening to that, getting that kind of influence, I think it's going to make it a little bit easier to improvise with what you're trying to do with the bass as you write your songs.
Yeah, correct. I do agree with you, because if you are just if we emphasize on the bass playing for Sum 41, you can't really get a lot of styles that you can implement in your songs. So basically, I would try to listen to some Japanese rock music. If you notice Japanese rock music, they have a lot of bass lines that they are constantly running. Those bass lines are crazy. So I really hope that these bass lines that I can carry forward to bring to our songs, which I have done partially for our new singer, Murder Machine.
What I would just say is just play around with what you can, and then just see what happens, because you might get some inspiration from some Japanese rock song that has this absolutely insane bass line that, you get an idea for, and you want to try something that is over the top insane with a bass line you want to put into a song. But maybe it's just not exactly what you need on that song, but by trying to put that crazy bass line in, you end up putting something that's, just absolutely crazy in there, but it just isn't on the same level. However, it works so much better for the song that you're writing that it ends up creating something fantastic. And you wouldn't have gotten that if you wouldn't have tried going with some absolutely insane over the top bass line to start out with. So it's all about bringing in the type of influences that you like in music and trying to see how not only they play within the music that you want to play, but also how you can shape them into being what is perfect for the song that you're writing.
Yep, that's right. As a musician, we do not limit to ourselves to a certain level. So every time when we hear something interesting, we will try to learn it up and maybe try it out to suit to our song. And whoever knows, like no one knows that this bass line will work or not. So that's why we every time during our jamming session, we will try a lot. Experiment to try out this new stuff, and if the band is comfortable with, then we will stay put to it.
Well, when you're doing those jam sessions and practice sessions, just kind of playing around, just seeing what works. That's the perfect time to just try something new, just to pull out something, because I'm trying to think of a good band as an example. One of my favorite bands, Ice Nine Kills, when they first started out, they were more this ska punk band that really, it sounded like their first album is fine, but it doesn't compare to stuff that they've come up later, because they went more into metalcore. They went more on this, like scary horror movie kind of theme to everything. They really give it more of this sinister vibe in their music. And I mean, now you listen to it and it's something that's completely their own, but it's absolutely fantastic. And you would have never gotten that had you not, been willing to try something. So when it comes to your music and your jam sessions, bringing in potential different influences, like, bringing in Japanese rock and bringing in a little bit more of a complicated bass line to really try and see if it works. Again, like I said earlier, it might not work, but it might, shine a light on something that says, okay, maybe this whole entire thing doesn't work, but there are bits and pieces of it that are perfect for this song. We just have to mold it into be something that we want to. Take a look at the drumming as well. Maybe it's something where, metalcore instrumentation just isn't necessarily the way to go. However, maybe slowing down the style and just keeping up with the same kind of style, but slowing down the tempo of it might be exactly what you need. You never know. The thing is, though, is you have to give it a shot and you can't just stick in the box. And I think that, again, with all the different influences that you guys are working with, it really helps to do that, because then you're not sticking within certain parameters of your music. You're able to branch out further, try different things, bring in different influences, and really create something that is different from everybody else, but also uniquely your own.
Yep.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Not sure whether have you heard of this Japanese band called Maximum the Hormone?
I do not believe so.
Okay. Okay, this band, they have a lot of influence from this band, System of a Down.
Ooh.
So yeah, they mix System of a Down with Red Hot Chili Peppers bass slapping. So I reckon you should check them out. Maximum the Hormone.
I'll give them a shot while I'm working on putting this podcast all together, just doing all the edits for it. I might just put it on just to enjoy and just see what they got.
It feels like System of a Down drank a lot of Red Bulls. And then just fast. And
well, when I'm thinking System of a Down drinking a lot of Red Bull, I'm thinking their song Cigarro. I mean, that song is basically them drinking a lot of Red Bull.
Yeah, it's in the same vein. But yeah, they're really good band.
Actually, the lyrics. Cigarro.
All right, now, because I've gone through 3 of the 4 guys, Ray, you're the last one, and what really drew you into more of that grunge style music, more of that Pearl Jam, Audio Slave, Soundgarden, and Nirvana style? What was the thing that really drew you in?
Honestly, it's more about fit, because for me, I grew up listening to quite a big wide genre of music, and I always liked being a vocalist and like singing and that kind of thing. But pop was never really my thing, because I didn't really like pop singing. So over the years, you meet different people, and my previous band they introduced me to a lot of people, a lot of different bands and stuff. So quite a few bands introduced me with System of a Down. They introduced me into Pearl Jam, Audio Slave, all these great bands. And when you listen to them and you realize something clicks inside. It's because I think as a vocalist, it's a bit more less technical and a bit more instinctual. like you just like realize that I feel like I can sing this. I feel like I can do this better than I can do like these other songs. So like you just try to like so I like listen to them and like I felt like yeah like these are the bands I can learn from. So I try to pick up like their style of singing and like I mean you have to like because I think there's so many great musicians out there. Like I feel like you have to like copy some of the good musicians, like their styles, and then like you like not really copy, but like more like you learn like what their strengths are and like how they do it, and then you try to make it like your own. Yeah. So like from those bands, I try to like learn, especially with Chris Cornell. Chris Cornell is like a big one. Yeah, because like he has like the range and he has like the grunge like tone and like that anger in his voice. Yeah. Because like I think a lot of grunge bands like Pearl Jam, like he has like the very good tone, like really good tone, but like his range is a bit limited compared to like but Chris Cornell's range is like huge, man. It's like
I know.
So,
I know.
like,
I know you're saying when it comes to Eddie Vedder of Pearl Jam, his range is he's got a unique sound to it, and he doubles down that unique sound of his voice to really create something that is unique. However, when you listen to those songs, the range, I mean, he stays very much within a certain limitations of what he can do.
The baritone range.
Yeah, which isn't a bad thing either, because it's something of, you know, if you're really strong at something, double down on that strength and it makes it even stronger, so that, you know, you're really putting stuff out there instead of trying to do different things that maybe you can't, versus someone like Chris Cornell, where all of a sudden you hear things that he did in Soundgarden, things he did in Audio Slave. And I mean, it's a much larger range that you're dealing with.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was a very big inspiration. Like I think this was a big inspiration for this band as well. Because like it's like a story I can tell you guys. Like it's like when we first started this band, like we kind of did like so many Audio Slave songs. Like we did like a Stone like so many times, like for so many different gigs. Yeah, because like we sounded like I thought we sounded pretty decent like playing it. Like as decent as you can, like trying to cover Audio Slave. But yeah, we sounded pretty decent playing it, so we decided like do it for multiple gigs. So like when the news came out, like, you know, when Chris like decided to like had the issues and stuff, like it really hit the band quite hard. I mean, like yeah, even like all the way there, like, you know, we weren't there for like the rise, but like the inspiration is still there, you know.
Yeah, but you were there for you enjoyed his music, and then when the unfortunate news that he passed away came, I mean, like you said, it hit you pretty hard. And where from my perspective, just because I never fully got into the whole entire grunge scene or anything, or really got in much with Audio Slave or Soundgarden, like I heard about it, and I mean, yeah, it was sad. For me, it didn't hit as hard as what happened a couple months later when we heard about Chester Bennington from Linkin Park. Like, but for me, that one hit me a lot harder. But then again, that's because when I was growing up and really starting to get into music, Linkin Park was always one of the bands that I went to. And when it came to trying to listen to something that had a little bit more of that unclean vocal style in there, I didn't really, I hated it for the longest time, but I could always listen to Linkin Park and always listen to Chester Bennington do it. And I mean, now, I can listen to that unclean vocal style all the time as I sit here wearing a motionless and white shirt.
Yeah, Linkin Park is like huge in like Asia. Like growing up, like everybody around like this, I'm like 25 this year. So like everybody around my age, like when we grew up, especially all the boys, like when we grew up, like Linkin Park was like the band. Like everybody, like there's like no one who didn't listen to Linkin Park. It's like huge. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember like schools where like everybody would just be like Linkin Park released Meteora, everybody just talked about it. You know, like Linkin Park played for the Transformers movie, everybody just kept talking about it. Like it was huge. Like they were like really global. Yeah.
Except, I mean, still, like during the time when, you know, when they released their second album, Meteor, when they released Minutes to Midnight, and then when they had What I've Done featured in the first Transformers movie, because that was about 2007, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that
was about 13 years ago. And Ray, you and I are the same age, so I mean, like when it comes down to your perspective and my perspective, age wise, we're right in the exact same range. However, we're in two different parts of the world. So when that came out, I mean, Linkin Park was still a huge band. However, when it came to that style of music here in the United States, it wasn't as popular anymore. I mean, a lot of the bands that were popular, it was a lot of pop music, of course. Hip hop was starting to get more popular as well. When it came to rock music, especially around 2007, that pop punk and emo scene was definitely on top. But, you know, with bands like Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco. It was a year after My Chemical Romance released Welcome to Black Parade. So it was like, it was a year after Escape the Fate had Situations. So it was just like, I mean, like that kind of style was big, but with Linkin Park, everyone knew about them, but it was a lot of the people of my age. It was Linkin Park was more of an afterthought because they'd been around for been popular for about 6-7 years at that point, after Hybrid Theory and after Meteora. However, it's just as time went on, it was kind of that style of music started getting less and less prominent. However, there was still a huge following here. It's just you never really saw it on pop culture on the radio or anything, or like just on a lot of different radio stations. You only saw it on like the rock radio stations, and that was it. But I mean, Linkin Park still was always on there every step of the way.
Yeah, I think music trends, like when you go from, especially like in Western music, like in Asia, like it takes like 2 years to go over. So like it travels through Europe and like slowly, like it takes a while to get like here. So like our trends are a bit slower, like compared to Western music. Yeah, because I mean obviously it originates in America and takes a while to come to Singapore.
Well, then, I mean, if that's the case, then I might have to just make sure you guys get on some of these trends now before they actually become trends over there. So for Manuel specifically, 3 weeks from about when we shot this podcast, the new Ghost Inside album is coming out. So I hope you're ready for that one.
Come again?
The new the Ghost Inside album, their comeback album after they took about 5 years off because of that horrible bus accident. Yeah, their first return album is coming out on June 5th.
Wow, it's quite near.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, get ready for it, because all of a sudden, you know, especially fans of that harder style, that metalcore style, are really going to be like, oh my God, they're back. I mean, when they dropped their first single here, it was everyone that really kind of focuses in on hard rock music or metal music or metalcore. A lot of people on YouTube were reacting to that song, and it was just like, wait, they're back, and just how they came, like that song, the song, it's called Aftermath. How they came back is just like, okay, this might be an album that's up for album of the year already. Just the way it started out, and after their second single, it just keeps going down that path.
I'm going to check on it. There's a lot of new contents and new drum lines for me to check onto. Yeah,
a couple other ones for you maybe to check onto. The band Make Them Suffer, a metalcore band out of Australia. Their first single from their album that's coming out in July, it's called Erase Me. That one, I think you can really get behind, especially the intro, because you get a good amount of double kicks in there, and it just hits hard. Or another Australian metalcore band called Polaris. They came out with an album this year that was fantastic. So just add more fuel to the fire right there.
Yeah, bro. Going to check on those.
Awesome. Okay, because I was taking a look at some of the stuff on your Spotify specifically, because on Spotify they always have, you know, that About Us page or the About page, little tab for the band, and I don't remember if I saw this on your Facebook page or if it was on your Spotify page, but it had different bands that you were influenced off, and I want to hear some of them that you guys are influenced off of, compare it to that list, because you said Audio Slave from Ray, so that definitely made a lot of sense. William had System of a Down when he brought that up, so that makes a lot of sense as well. The two others I saw in there on that list were Rage Against the Machine and Alter Bridge.
Yep.
Yeah, Alter Bridge. Yeah, definitely. I love Alter Bridge, and I think Ray loves it also. Like they have one of the best vocalists of our time.
Miles Kennedy, man.
Oh yeah.
The vocals are awesome, and the album they released last year was really good.
Yeah,
that was my album of the year pick last year. Was Walk the Sky. I loved it.
Yeah, man, I love it. But I'm a bit nostalgic, but I think their first two albums are still better. But the album last year was still very good. Yeah.
So now Archie, when you're bringing up a lot of Alter Bridge, saying you love their first album and you really liked Walk the Sky, especially being the guitarist as well, I think you know where I'm going to go with this question. Do you pay attention to a lot of what Mark Tremonti is doing and try and learn from the stuff that he's doing as well? Because when it comes down to guitarists right now that are active, it's hard to find anyone better than Mark Tremonti.
Yeah, definitely. I think the way he phrases his guitar solo, it's I look at some of his interviews. It's like he just naturally tries to do things in a different way. You know, playing around with different tunings and different phrases. And I heard some of his interview. He was saying like he was just trying to play around with different shapes and in different tunings, and he just come up with different ideas. And yeah, that's definitely some of the things that I'm trying to learn from him. You know, he's definitely one of my top guitarist favorites.
Oh, very understandable. It was right before the pandemic really hit, and a lot of places went into lockdown. Before all the concerts stopped, about a month before that happened here in the United States, I actually got to see Alter Bridge play live here in Milwaukee.
Wow.
And I'll put it this way: where I come in, like when I go to shows, I mean, I'm used to going to punk rock shows and metalcore shows now, so I'm always in that a lot more of that heavier style where I'm end up jumping into a mosh pit, going nuts, potentially breaking my nose. Almost happened once, which is awesome, but what? But good thing it didn't. But when I saw Alter Bridge, I knew it was going to be more of that just enjoy the music kind of show. And when they went on, I mean, one of the things I was doing consistently was looking at Mark Tremonti and watching what he was doing with the guitar. Now, I'm not a guitarist. I don't play guitar, and just trying to figure out how to do it. I'm looking at him like, there is no way I understand how to do this. That's just me, though. You put a drum kit in front of me, I'm going to potentially try and figure it out. I'm going to try and remember how to play the drum intro to Chop Suey by System of a Down. I keep trying to, and I always forget exactly. I know exactly how it sounds, but I always forget what I have to hit. I'm just like, and I can never figure it out to this day. However, I'm going to go back to Mark Tremonti. Like, I was watching him play, and I've watched other guitarists play, and then I'm watching Mark Tremonti play. When it comes to watching other guitarists, I'm like, okay, I'm still not sure how to play the guitar. And then I watch Mark Tremonti, I'm thinking, I still don't know how to play the guitar, but on top of that, how the heck are you doing that? It made no sense on the stuff that he was doing, just constantly watching his left hand just go up and down, just hitting different notes. I'm like, how is it going that fast, hitting so many different notes, and it's creating such a smooth sound throughout the whole entire thing? It literally made no sense to me, but I mean, I heard it, so it definitely made sense somehow, but I'm just like, how the heck does he do some of this stuff?
Yeah. I think the secret is in, when you look at him play, right, his facial expression just go like,
you gotta make the face.
It's just the way he do it. He's like a same entity with his guitar, that's how he do it.
It's like
he's just so into the whole music, and then like he just blends in.
It's like a happy intensity watching him play, because when I saw him, it was like his face looked like he was just trying super hard to make sure he hit. So you had to like kind of in there, but he was smiling the whole entire time. So it was like,
it's like like constant orgasm on his face, but it feels so awesome, I think he's the only guy. I mean, maybe the only metal guy who does that, but it's very cool if he does it.
I mean, I've seen him do his solo project Tremonti as well live beforehand. I actually saw them before I even got to see Alter Bridge live, and it was the same thing with him up there. All of a sudden, it's you see him playing. He's still got that like intense smile going on while he's playing. Then he goes up and starts singing, and he still has that like intensity in his face. It was something that was pretty interesting, and I was kind of mad because when I saw Tremonti, they were the opener for the band 10 Years, and I thought it should have been flipped because even though 10 Years is the bigger band, Tremonti just played so much harder, and it was like that would have been much better to end the show on, where you're building up to instead of building up and then kind of dipping it back down in terms of energy.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just like the way the eras work. Like right now, like in general, like a band like Alter Bridge, like if Alter Bridge started today, like even though the technical skill is like through the roof, like it'd be pretty difficult for them to like get mainstream, because I think this like hard rock music is so hard to break into the mainstream right now.
Oh, it very much is. And the reason behind that is just because, especially, I'm going to use the United States as an example, because there's a lot of the bands that are coming out here, and a lot of things are driven off of what's going here, especially with rock music. And and because they're from the United States. But when it comes down to it here, it's a lot easier to break into places like pop music, hip hop and rap or in country as well. And the reason for that is just because that's what's being played on the mainstream a lot. And that's what is getting the most amount of attention, the most amount of listeners. Now, when it comes to rock music, hard rock and metal, you still have a lot of listeners in there, but it's not as prominent in pop culture, where you're not going to see it played on a lot of movies, on a lot of TV shows, and a lot of video games. It's not going to be attached to that. You're not going to hear it as much on the radio unless you're listening to your local rock station, or if you're listening to Sirius XM Octane. So you're really not going to get a lot of that. But the fans that are listening to it, they're going to listen to it. They like it, but it's hard. It's basically what the hard part is. It's getting younger fans into it as much as they're getting into other genres like country music, like hip hop and rap and pop.
Yeah.
And it stinks.
I think like with metal, it's one of the rare genres where take the band I like the most, like Megadeth. They are like, I don't know how many years have they been in the industry, like 35, maybe more than that.
I think around 35.
Yeah, but they're still releasing new albums and I mean, congrats to them. They just won the Grammy last few years, the new album. And I think it's one of the rare industry, because I think maybe with the pop genre, it's very rare to see someone who is still making music when they're like 50, 60 years old.
Yeah, like Metal
Iron Maiden, they've just released their album a few years ago.
Like Tool just released a new album.
Yeah, it was a 13-year layoff, and then they released their new. The one thing that was cool about that was when they released their new album, it was about a week after Taylor Swift released her new album, and in terms of the main, like just the mainstream charts, so all music that's compromised in there, the first week album sales from Fear Inoculum beat out Taylor Swift's album, and Taylor Swift fans are freaking out like, oh, who's this Tool? Yeah, it was something like, oh, we have Tool's an old person, man. It's like, well, they're better, so, and people have been waiting for a long time for this, so yeah, it was definitely gonna beat this out. Myself with that Tool album, I thought it was okay. I mean, it wasn't necessarily something I was gonna listen to a lot, but then again, I mean, I'm not necessarily in tune with listening to songs that are like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It's just not something that I care for that much. I did like the album, but it's just not something I'm going to go back to all the time to listen to 10 songs that are going to end up totaling an hour and a half runtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I didn't even know that Taylor Swift like released an album.
Hey, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I saw people on Twitter just freaking out about it. I'm like, oh, this is fun because especially with all the rock metal fans that I end up following on there, all the bands I found there, when Tool released, like, and people were freaking out that it was beating Taylor Swift stuff, like people were tweeting it and they were just retweeting it. So I was seeing it all come in. I'm like, oh, this is funny.
Metal hits rise up.
It's like there's still a lot of hard rock fans. There's still a lot of metal fans out there. It's just they're not getting we just aren't getting the attention because we're not as prominent in pop culture, and it's just not there as much as it is with other genres. Because I still go to shows all the time, and to be honest with you, they're absolutely packed. When I went to go see Motionless in White the second time last year, because it was here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, at a place called The Rave, and we have 3 different stages. There's the big ballroom stage, which is their largest stage, and they have like what they call the club stage. It's kind of just like a normal venue. It's kind of like a normal like venue that has a couple of like balcony seats, and then there's the basement one that has it's just like a old like a real that's like a classic club show where the stage is just a little bit elevated off the ground, but it's just it's real close, real intimate. And Motionless in White was supposed to be on the bottom stage. So, and there was someone in the ballroom that night. I forgot who it was, but all of a sudden, what happened was they sold so many tickets right away that they had to move them up to the club level because of how many people bought tickets, because it sold out right away and people were still asking for it. So they moved up to the club level, and all of a sudden that sold out. But then they couldn't go any higher because, well, there was someone already booked up there. And they had the same problem 2 weeks later when I went to go see Ice Nine Kills play live, because they had them in the basement. They had an alternative rock band down in the middle section of the club, and then they had this pop artist up in the ballroom. And the only one that sold out that night was Ice Nine Kills. And I talked to some people and they wanted to move them up, but they couldn't move them up because, they already had different bands booked for that. So they were kind of screwed. And of course, what happened was Ice Nine Kills the show, it started the earliest because we had Light the Torch, Fit for a King, and Ice Nine Kills. Theirs started the earliest. Ours ended last as well. So, I mean, we were still going crazy the whole entire time, and we were hearing people say that they could hear Ice Nine Kills' music from the ballroom. And I'm just like, oh, this is awesome.
Wow.
Just took over the entire event.
Oh yeah, so it's definitely the thing is like the fans are here. The fans are definitely here. They're prevalent and they listen to the music. It's just they're not getting the mainstream attention.
Yeah.
Which,
but I was still say like I think Americans are like spoiled when it comes to like good music, because like American friends could be like, oh yeah, next week I'm gonna like watch Tool in LA, and like oh yeah, I'm gonna see like John Mayer like over here and stuff like. So there's like good music everywhere, and Singaporeans are like what? Like I don't think Tool's ever coming to Singapore, man. Like, do they even know like Singapore exists? Like
yeah.
So like you guys are like you guys actually have it good, man. Like mainstream whether like it's mainstream or not, but like you still have so much access to like these bands and stuff. It's great.
Oh, very much so, and I definitely agree with you on that because
like salt.
yeah, because I've got friends that live over. I've got a good amount of friends that live over in Europe, and I was talking with them about it, and they're always talking about how when bands come over, they come over to Europe and they won't come back for a couple of years to them, and I mean, and it's much more prevalent over there than you get. But then over here in the United States, it's me seeing a band twice in 1 year isn't that hard. Because I think last year, I'm trying to think, like just last year alone in 2019, I saw Rise Against twice. I saw Motionless in White twice. I saw Disturbed twice, and I saw Skillet twice. Oh, and that's and there's so many more that I saw as well. And there was about a month and a half long stretch between October, like beginning of October and middle of November, where I was seeing a different show each week. But what helps for me though is where I live. There's not a lot of there's times where a lot of bands will skip the city that I live in, but I live an hour and a half north of Chicago, and it's the third largest city here in America. So it's like every band ends up going through there. So if there's a band I really want to see, I just have to get in my car, drive an hour and a half south, and I'm there. So it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
Wow. The bands that you mentioned, there are no way they will come to Asia for tours. So it's like we are very envy of you.
Yeah,
I think we really should see them so many times.
You guys are gonna have to come over here and come see some shows then once everything gets back to what it should be.
After this COVID situation is a bit scary right now in the US.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like once it gets back to how it should be, where live music is still out there. Yeah. People are able to just start moshing like crazy again, crowd surfing because they don't want to have a lot of that right now. But I mean, I want to do all of that stuff because that's just what I like to do.
Yeah, goodness. Yeah. We just want to start jamming again.
Exactly. That's what every band wants to start doing right now. But you guys did recently release a new single on March 11th, if I'm correct, called The Murder Machine. I know it's called Murder Machine, but I believe it was released on March 11th, correct?
Yep, something there.
Alrighty, well, because after you guys asked me to listen to it, I mean, I listened to it because, well, why not? And you guys are here because I listened to it. I liked it. We're going to feature as a song of the day choice. And specifically, to start out with the song, to kind of go through it, I want to start out with the instrumentals. So everyone but Ray, basically. So when it came to this one, the intro specifically right away, the first thing I thought of was, and this had to be you guys had to take the Rage Against the Machine influence and put this one in there, because I made comparisons to Killing in the Name by Rage Against the Machine just off of the intro, because it had the same pace, the same feel to it, and it just flowed through there. So the question is, did you guys, when it came to writing Murder Machine, were you listening to a lot of Rage Against the Machine for this one, and were you taking a lot of influence off of that when it came to writing the song?
Were we jamming like Bulls on Parade during this period?
Yeah, we were jamming.
Yeah, Bulls on Parade and Killing the Name of.
Yeah. See, William was the one who came up with the initial riff.
Yeah, the riff was actually, I got the idea from Chord 50, the bass slapping, because I always wanted to have a bass slapping that can somehow has a shadow of the kind of style, the percussionist style. So I got the idea from him, and then slowly I improvised that can fit into our music. That's how I started off with the riff.
I was saying, 'cause I'm still looking at the notes I wrote for the song when it came to my thoughts on it, and what I wrote for the verses, and this is gonna all tie into William, what you said about your influences with that hard rock, that Japanese rock style with the heavy bass lines in there, because what I wrote was, with the verses, they maintain a real heavy bass line with consistent drumming and some more prominent guitar work, especially in the second half of the verse. So it's like the bass, like that consistent heavy bass line with this, there's a lot of slapping as well, and the consistent drumming are there, and then you slowly introduce the guitar as you go along throughout the verse. And I even wrote, kind of cool if you ask me, because the bass line, especially when it's isolated, not drowned out by other instrumentation, and just kind of is the prevalent spot on there, it really gives the song this kind of funky feel to it, where it's different. It's something that you're not going to expect. And I mean, I wasn't expecting it at all, especially from just what I thought when I initially heard the song. I didn't think it was going to happen like that. But I got to say, it was definitely pretty cool to hear, just because it was different, but not only that, but it fit so well. And then when the guitar came in and your bass kind of started taking a little bit more of that blended style with the guitar and itself in terms of sound, so what one wasn't more prominent than the other, it really connected all together incredibly well. So it was something that was real interesting to hear, and I was a fan of that bass line, man.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to hear that. That I always wanted to hear like listeners to have a different. They could, like, if they could, I wish to hear that they won't expect this part to happen, like the groovy parts, the bass line that come in the middle of the song. So that's what I want our listeners to bring back something from our music.
I'll say, going forward, you might have to play around with that a little bit more and just see what comes up with it, because it seems like you definitely had a good amount of success putting it into this song of it. And then when I was listening to it again, going through the chorus, it maintained more of that progressive punk style to it, where it had the elements of punk in there. So it had those elements of like that rough punk style that you listen to when you're listening to older punk bands, like the Ramones, like the Sex Pistols, like the Dead Kennedys. But then again, it was more refined and it was smoother, but a little bit more punk in there. So that's kind of where I kind of had that Rage Against the Machine feel to it, where it still had that raw punk energy to it, but it was smoothed out a little bit to make the sound a little bit easier to get into, and not as raw as something as, just classic hardcore punk would really go into. And with myself being like, I love punk rock. It's probably my favorite genre out of all of them. Really like Anti-Flag, like Pennywise, like a band Against Me, Rise Against, my favorite band of all time. So when it comes to more of that like polished punk sound, I really resonate well with it. So I kind of got a feel of that here, where the chorus in this one, it showed a more updated sound to that, like maybe more of that progressive punk genre, where it wasn't as raw as some of the stuff that I could have expected or the influences that you were going with. But again, it's just that bass line that added that little bit of a funk to it. This song just stuck out really well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, I think maybe the raw side is like, because maybe I'm listening more to metal side. So I do like the punk stuff. Maybe like bands like Code Orange.
Okay.
They were really raw, like that kind of feel. But I don't really play that way. So maybe that's how when me and William we tried to write the song. So it sort of move towards that side where it's kind of punky, but it's less raw, I think.
Yeah,
but it's a four-piece band, so there's only one guitar and one bass. So we try to separate the sounds as much as possible.
We always encourage William to like do a lot with the bass, because like we actually could have added another guitar at some point, but like we decided as a band that like, no, we're not gonna do that. And because like I'm just like a vocalist, I can't play any instruments and stuff. I can play piano really bad, but like we really like double down on the idea of like, okay, we just have one guitar, one bass, one drum, that's all. And because like we just have like this one less guitar, like William has to fill up more with the bass. Like there's so much space. Like because we have like a few older songs, and if we listen to them, like it feels like there's quite a few like gaps in the space. Like there's a lot of space which can be filled. So like with the new like Flower and like Murder Machine, we decided like okay, yeah, let's like try to make like the guitar bigger, make the bass bigger. So make the bass and the guitar so big, you won't even think like yeah, I guess you need another guitarist. No, we must have one guitar, one bass. That's all. Yeah, to show that like we have like enough, that we don't have to add more to it. Yeah, it's like big. That's like the logic behind it.
Yeah, and that kind of sits with that classic rock band construction where you have a vocalist, a guitarist, a bass player, and a drummer. So you're really sticking with that sort of a trope. And you really don't see that a lot anymore, especially in the genre, because it's for the majority of it, you're seeing those four types of members in bands, but you're always seeing a rhythm guitarist added. Yeah. Or if it's a member of like a core four member, it's usually like the lead singer is also playing rhythm guitar at the same time as well. So the guitars are usually a lot more prominent in it. However, like you said on this one, like you said, you're feeling like, especially in the earlier songs, there was a lot of space that could be filled. So you're letting William kind of bring up that bass a little bit more, be a little bit more prominent in there. So you're able to pull off a couple of different things that some other bands that have that kind of core four style of musicians aren't really going to end up being able to or process fully, because you're bringing in more of that bass drum or why did I say bass drum? There's my mess up for the day. Bass guitar in there. So you're really adding more to it. You're just adding a little bit more of that deeper sound to it. And it ends up giving your music a little, potentially at times, a little bit more of that funk vibe to it as well. So you're really able to play off of a lot of it. Also, it could potentially give off more of that hardcore punk vibe if you're able to really pull that off as well, which at times, especially hearing when you guys saying like you're jamming a Rage Against the Machine Bulls on Parade when you're really kind of working on this one, and how the intro reminds me of Killing in the Name, it really does fit all together.
I think like us, we do not have a rhythm guitarist, so most of the time I have to think and brainstorm how could I fill my bass line. So to like fill up the gaps, it's a good motivation to me. It's like it drives me to think whatever bass line that it fits, I will try to insert to our song. It really motivates me. If we have a second guitarist, I don't think I have more inspiration to come up with this kind of bass line.
The more inspiration you have and the more you can play with, it just ends up giving you more options to work with to figure out what works best on a song and what doesn't work best. So you can really figure out a lot of it. And if I just stick with the construction of the song, it seems like it seemed like the vocals really fall into that style more of a little bit more punk, maybe a little bit more hard rock, a little bit more metal as well. Because I'm going to put Ray on the spot on this one. The vocals you had on this one, not gonna lie, I didn't think they really were like just the kind of style on paper. So I'm just saying, in theory, if I tell someone exactly what it sounds like, it doesn't seem like it would match up. However, I don't know how it matched up. It must have been with the bass line for this one, because your vocals had a little bit more of that grunge influence to them, just with the style and the sound. And I'm glad you went with that. And one name that really came up in my mind when I was listening to your vocals on this song was Lane Staley, the original vocalist for Alice in Chains.
Oh, that's big.
Because I know you brought up like Chris Cornell, you were talking about Nirvana, so you're thinking Kurt Cobain, you're thinking Pearl Jam with Eddie Vedder. I'm like, he's not saying Alice in Chains yet, so this is going to be interesting when I bring this up, because
I'm a fan as well. When
I listened to the vocals in the bridge and there was the bridge and the verses, like I was listening, I'm like, this reminds me a lot of Lane Staley. Especially songs like the verses for Man in the Box and Wood. And I mean, you can hear an incredible comparison to the two. And taking a look at my notes again, because I just didn't want to mess this up. And what I liked about this combo is it brought that grunge influence in with more of that, Rage Against the Machine style and hard rock style. And it provided a little bit more of like a similar style contrast. So it was like, it wasn't necessarily a large contrast. You're going like something, doing like grunge sound, like a grunge style vocal over like a heavy metalcore, deathcore kind of style. Cause that would be really interesting to see if you guys could pull that off. Not trying to give you guys ideas. If you try and pull it off, I'd love to hear it. But if you guys don't think you can, don't worry about it. But
you're encouraging Archie a lot. He always like tells me I should learn how to screamo.
I mean, if you want to go for it. You never know if it could add something, if it would work on a song. I mean, it just give yourself the option to do it if you want to. And I'm kind of maybe inflating Archie's ego a little bit, like, yeah, he thinks he should do it. But when it came down to it, hearing like that more of that grunge style vocal, like that Lane Staley style vocal, mixing with more of that, you know, harder style, more like, you know, like that Rage Against the Machine style of instrumentation, the contrast between what you would expect off of that with the vocals and what you did, it wasn't very wide. However, it was definitely noticeable, and I really did like it just because it brought in a little bit of a different style to the song than you were expecting, but it just played off real well. It really hits your ears like it's something that, you know, it's a little bit more raw, especially with that bass line, but it's also really grungy and a little bit more smooth as well with the vocals. Because, not gonna lie, I thought Lane Staley had really smooth vocals from what he did.
Yeah,
so it kind of really kind of meshed. Just, and the only
sick.
reason I'm bringing him up consistently is because that was what my mind went to when I first heard this one, especially with your vocals. So I'm not saying you sound like him. I'm saying like that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, I was listening to quite a bit of like Alice in Chains during the period. Yeah. But like a lot of it also came because like the way we write songs is that like usually either like William Archie starts with a riff and then we try to build on it, and we'll just like we'll just jam for like an hour or two, and we'll just like try our best to try to fill the space. But the thing is that because like I don't have a lot of like music theory, like instrumentally wise, so like I have to wait until like there's something concrete, then I'll try to sing over it. And I usually just try to come up with a tune on the spot and like force the lyrics into it. Yeah. So like as what you said, like a lot of the things I'm listening to during that period will come out during that, like when I'm trying to sing over like the songs with the instrumentals we have, because it's just what's in my head at the time, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump into the chorus on this one as well with the vocals, because you kind of took that grunge style vocals and you kind of mixed them in with a little bit more of like a classic punk style. So they were still clean and had that grunge feel to them, but they had a little bit more of this rougher feel, a little bit more of this brash feel to them, which really matched the sound of the instrumentation real well. It was a real interesting take that you went on that one, in my opinion, but in the end, it worked out just fine for you because, again, going to my notes on this one, as I wrote, overall, this song shows that the band can take more their genre influence that they have, mix them all together in a song, and come up with something that has some funk, some grunge, and some punk to it all at the same time. So it was like a song where you took a bunch of different influences that you guys had, mixed them together in something, and came up with something that really worked.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a very good feedback to us.
I mean, I've got another song we can talk about if you guys want me to.
Oh, like another one of our songs?
Sure.
What song did you check out?
Well, how about we go to Flower on this next one?
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, sure.
This one's a bit older.
Yeah, so I'll ask you this question: Who wants to be the victim on this one? Does it the instrumentals or the vocals first?
Like, I guess since you victimized the instrumentals first, so I'll just take it this time.
Alrighty, we'll go to the vocals on this.
It's 1v3, man. What the heck?
Yeah. So on this one, Ray, for your vocals, when I was listening to the song, I thought they had more of that, I would say more that 90s rock feel to it. So I would say more that like just immediate post grunge kind of feel. So it was something that, because, you know, here in the United States, like when grunge music was real popular in the early 90s, but once Nirvana ended after Kurt Cobain's unfortunate passing, grunge music kind of fell off, and then we kind of went more of that post grunge 90s rock style. So I mean, I'm talking stuff like, I mean, best way to describe it is like early Foo Fighters. Like that's really where it kind of came in, and they were like the vocals that you had in this one, they were clean and they provided a real smooth sound to the whole entire thing. So it was a little bit different than what you did on your previous song that we talked about with Murder Machine, or I should say your newest song, Murder Machine. So it was a little bit different, but the lower tone was real accessible and just kind of made it a little bit easier to kind of get into for someone that is, you know, a little bit more in that more just trying to figure out like more of like a, you know, not necessarily into the softer rock style, into the harder rock style, the metal style, or really the grunge style, just kind of more like right in the middle. Like your vocals kind of really sat right in the middle of what people of all the fans of all like the subgenres of rock and metal would really kind of potentially get into. Kind of sat in the middle, made it real accessible for people to really get into. So that's kind of what I thought with the vocals on that one.
Yeah, I would say it is kind of accessible because I think the way I sing is generally quite I try to keep it a bit more accessible. But at the same time, like I think a big reason for it is because like for Murder Machine, we were a lot more drunk when we wrote that compared to like when we wrote Flower. Like Flower was a bit more we decided to put a lot more effort into trying to like write a more technical song because it was going to be our like next wave of like singles we're gonna release. So we decided to like, okay, we're gonna really buckle down and try to write something which is like more technical and like show like evolution. Because like a kind of thing for our band is that we're not ashamed to show like our early stuff. Because like, you know, I think there are a lot of bands which are very ashamed to show, like try to hide their like early music, and it's like, oh yeah, because you have to have this perfect image and stuff. But like for us, it's like you know, fuck it. It's like you want to hear like our shitty stuff. Like take a look, just listen to us like sounding shitty. But please take a look at us now and see the difference. So that's like our philosophy about it. Like we're not going to be ashamed about whether we sound bad in the past, because like the past is the past. Right now we sound good. So that's the idea. So so we're going to release like new songs. We decided like, okay, let's try to write something more technical. Yeah. So like for me, like I think a part of it is like I went a bit more like I'm going to try to be a bit more accessible. Yeah, but I think for the next few waves of songs, we're going to try to go a bit crazier with it. Yeah, so I hope you stay tuned for that.
Okay, and well, one thing I will put in there is I'm taking a look at my overall note. I did like that kind of style you did with the vocals, but in the end, I kind of thought that you went a little bit too safe on them. But then again, listening going forward, listening to Murder Machine, because Flower came out before Murder Machine. So taking a look at Murder Machine, kind of seeing what you did on that one, how you kind of grew a little bit more into that one, especially with the vocals. I think, again, like you're saying with your earlier stuff, it's like a lot of bands are afraid to go and, you know, show it because they kind of want to project more of like a perfect image maybe, and just kind of, oh, you know, maybe the stuff that we played earlier wasn't necessarily the best in our minds, but you guys aren't afraid to look at that, and seeing how the growth, especially between Flower and Murder Machine, especially on your vocals, seems like kind of just being a little bit more in tune with what yourself was doing instead of trying to write something that was a little bit more technical. It seems like it's like it was still like I thought it was fine, but when you go into Murder Machine after Flower, I think it shows a lot of growth on your part as well, Ray. So you really get I really got a lot more of a feel of, you know, you can definitely see the growth of you as a vocalist going forward, and especially you're going to try and take a little bit more of a see what you can kind of experiment with going forward, maybe try a little bit things that are a little bit newer, and maybe playing a little bit more risky, I would say. I feel I feel like taking that chance would definitely be worth it.
Yeah, I think it's like as a vocalist, like a lot of it is like confidence, and because like I think every vocalist has like a comfort zone about how they like to sing and how they like to write stuff. But like in fact, like for some of our newer stuff, I was like which I mean, still like we're trying to write it, but like it was the middle of writing, then COVID happened. Mm-hmm. So like it's like in hiatus right now. But like some of the newer stuff, like we even going to like, for me personally, I'm trying to sing like even a bit of blues influence kind of thing. So just trying to add like just not like try to box myself into one like singing style, because as what you said, yeah, it's a bit safe. So like I think like fuck safe, like let's try to get something more like interesting and like crazy out.
Yeah, and when you went with something that was a little bit more your style as well, that you're a little bit more natural with more that grungy kind of style to it. So on Murder Machine, I mean, it just the changeover and the growth it showed. So like in terms of your vocal performance, I think especially between those two from you know Flower to Murder Machine, I thought you're again playing a little bit more risky, I would say, just a little bit more, you know. Maybe the grunge style doesn't necessarily fit on, you know, in theory for this, but let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. You did, and it worked out fantastically. So I think that really worked out there.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right.
Grill the rest.
All right. Time to grill the rest. I'm gonna need to get a grill. Let me get some hamburgers, some hot dogs out here. We can start grilling.
Have yourself.
Alrighty, so we're gonna go to the instrumentals on Flower, and the thing I have highlighted here, and I can't believe I'm saying this again, but it's instead of grilling William, I got to give him some praise on this one, because the transition in the bridge on this one provided a bass line that really made me notice something about you guys, and it was that you were able to add that kind of like funk influence in there a little bit, kind of what you did on Murder Machine as well, just with that sheer bass line to that grunge rock music style, and it really sticks out as a positive because a lot of the other sounds that you have on your songs, they really can control contrast against that kind of funky bass line feel, and it really does help the track stand out entirely. So we kind of bring that in a little bit, because I don't really know a band that's really doing something like that right now, and it just sticks out there. And it just, the way that all of a sudden, more of that hard rock sound, that grunge style kind of can play off a little bit more of that bass line that has a little bit more of that funk influence in there, and even some more like hard rock influence there, just being more prominent. The contrasting styles between the guitar and the drums, just kind of how they contrast with that bass style, it sticks out, but it sticks out in the most positive way.
Well, my pleasure to hear that, that how you appreciate the work that we have done. Yeah, the bridge part is one of the, I can say it's one of the highlight of the song. But it's actually a transition. We went from a different key to another higher key, if you notice that. I don't think many people can tell it. It was just a transition of a different keys. That's why you feel that there's a bit of different feel when it comes to the bass stepping and also the drum work. So yeah, I'm very happy to hear that. To hear from a listener that you can notice that the type of a difference in our song.
Yeah, and one thing that for me is always, I mean, like when it comes to just really going through like heavy into the music right now and do all this stuff that I'm doing right now, I've really kind of only been at this for a little bit over 2 years. But when it comes to playing instruments, I've really never played all that much. I never really wrote any songs, so I've been slowly noticing more and more things as time has gone on. And it seems like a lot of the bands I've talked to, it's like, there's always one thing I notice that always stands out. And out of all the bands I've talked to so far, this is the first time where it's like the bass line or like some kind of just interesting fills that you have in there with a little bit more of that funk influence was the thing that stood out. Otherwise, it's always like, the drumming is the thing that stands out the most with certain fills in there, or it's the guitar work or how the vocalists are playing off each other. Because there's times I've had two separate vocalists, male and female, playing off each other, with the female being the clean vocalist and the male going with the unclean screams. And it really does work out well. And it's always, I find something in there where it's like, this is definitely something where I think like you guys definitely have like a uniqueness to your sound. And when it comes to the kind of construction from these bass lines, I mean, they kind of adding a little bit of that funk to a little bit more of that grunge hard rock style. It really does work out well for you guys. And I think when Ray was talking about how you guys are, when you're building songs and you're trying to figure out what to do with them, starting out with that bass line and then building from them, I think it's showing a lot here that it works.
Yeah. As a bassist, I always want to like do a big breakthrough. Like most of the bassists in other bands, they play safe. Like for us, I try to maybe I'm overconfident. Like to say this, I try to like outshine my bass line as much as possible for a song. So that's why I will always think of different like unique techniques on how to bring out my bass line. Maybe that's how. So that's why
Sorry, let me cut in, because like I think what William's saying makes a lot of sense, because like he's the first bassist I played, because like most bassists I play with, right, like they can be like extremely good, like you know what I'm talking about. There's like extremely good bassists, right? Yeah. But like a lot of bassists like go in like they're like, okay, they're gonna be like the foundation of the band, so they're not gonna stand out, but they're gonna be like really good, and they're just gonna like fit in. But William is like the first bassist I play with he's like, you know what, like I'm also one of the crown jewels of this band. Like he's gonna shine as well. Like so, like I think that like makes the sound a bit different. So it helps a lot.
Yeah, like, another bass. I would say one other bass I've seen that kind of has that more of a that is more than just like, the foundation behind the band, and just kind of like constantly just keeping things going along with the drums as well. One other bass I've seen do that has been, I mean, I'm wearing the Motionless and White shirt right now, so it does make sense with their bassist that just started out last year. His name is Justin Morrow. He was formerly the bassist of Ice Nine Kills, but just because I've seen him twice and I saw him live, and it was just watching them play. It's just there's a lot more there than I think he actually gets credit for. But it's just there's so much there that he does for the band. Besides that, but he also sticks out as well, just because you're taking a look at the guys on stage. It's, of course, the lead singer is going to be the most prominent guy, because Chris Motionless kind of looks like Marilyn Manson in a way. So it definitely does stick out. But all of a sudden you're looking at their bassist, Justin, and you're like, huh? Because there's times where all of a sudden, like you see him just doing all this crazy stuff up there with a bass guitar. I'm just like, how the heck is he doing some of that stuff? Okay, I'm digging it. Let's go. Because if you listen to the song, it's one off their new record, Disguise. It's called Headache. The intro bass line is something that just is like, whoa, I wasn't expecting to do that, but all right, let's go.
I'm going to check out the song. What's the name of the song?
The song is called Headache.
Okay,
and
Headache.
if you need to know how to spell the band, I'm just going to go like this, and you can kind of read Motionless in White. To make that a little bit easier. Well, now when it comes to Flower, I got to keep going out with a little bit of the instrumentals on this one. And, well, Manuel, it's your turn because when the song started out, it did. I'll say it had this hard rock vibe to it, but the drumming sounded a little bit more rough and raw and brash, and I'm just using more adjectives as I run along with this. And the reason I kind of felt that was because of the snare drum, especially on this one, because it sounded like the snare was loosened up on the kit to kind of give it more of a raw sound throughout the whole entire thing, and add a little bit more of that punk, like more of that classic punk influence in there, because I could hear it and I'm just like, that snare does not sound particularly crisp. It sounds like it's a little loose, but it gives off this more rough and raw sound to the whole entire song.
Yeah, especially for the intro part of the Flower, I want to feel like there's a marching band. I don't know why. I just want to start our song with something like that, and then there goes the heavy bang. For that one, I think the inspiration that I used to is playing Godsmack songs, because at the time I keep on playing a lot of Godsmack songs, because at that time Archie told me that we are going to go to the more progressive type of songs. So I keep on listening on that. So when especially the pre-chorus part, there's I think we used to try that time many times, because it's very confusing in my part also.
We called it his examination song.
Yeah, it's like the examination song, because I keep on losing the timing, losing the tempo, because it's very confusing. Just to say, it's very confusing. And I'm very new and playing a progressive type of songs, because in metalcore songs it's very into line with the double pads. The drum line is still the same and have this formation from the start. So this one, it's a different kind of pre-chorus, different kind of chorus, different kinds of patterns and all in drums.
Man, you get to try to challenge Manuel on this one. My God.
Yeah, that's why it's my examination song.
we have to, because Manuel tends to play safe, so we just always like, come on, try harder, like do something crazy.
I'll say, of course, when it comes to, you guys challenge him on this song, of course, the thing I end up noticing is in the intro, the snare drum sounds like it's a little loose to give it more of a raw feel to it. And of course, that's the thing I end up noticing. Look at me. I should have noticed that. But of course, I end up going with something completely different.
I think the snare drum was, I think it was like this was at Stone House, right? We recorded this?
Yeah, it was recorded at a JPEG studio.
Yeah, we were actually like commenting about the snare drum, but the guy couldn't really adjust it properly, I think. Yeah, it was just studio limitations, I think, for the snare drum.
For some reason, it just came out with a real interesting sound. I thought it worked out. So,
the marching band. Marching band.
Yeah.
Hey, it worked. And well, I went through three of you guys, and Archie, you're not going to be spared not talking about the guitar work on this one. So here we go. Taking a look at the notes again that I have for this song. When I listened to it, it had that more of a harder down tune kind of style compared to some of maybe the other songs you went with. So it really drove more of a hard rock feel from it versus a little bit more of that hard rock, hard punk influence that we were getting from the drums with a little bit of the less snare, and a little bit more of that adding a funk to that grunge rock music that the bass drum was providing. So it was, when it came to the song, really kind of building on a hard rock feel for the song. It was your guitar work really kind of of set the tone forward for the rest of the song.
Yeah, I think the song was started off the intro riff, and then we sort of built up the whole song around that riff. And yeah, I think it's a bit hard rock influence for that.
Yeah, and it just kind of stuck consistent throughout the whole entire thing, where all of a sudden in the chorus it went a little bit more melodic in a sense, so it wasn't as hard, because it just had a little more melodic feel to it, a little more of an easy breezy kind of feel to it, I would say. But
yeah, I guess the way I would look at our band is like when we try to write the songs, we just make sure when we listen back to the song, we are headbanging as much as we can, and we're jumping around. I think that's how. Well, maybe it feels melodic, but I think there's a bit of a headbang element to it, during the pre-chorus and the chorus parts. So I think that's what we're trying to.
And what I mean by melodic is like you add like a melodic sense to it, but I mean you can still be melodic and still go hard at the same time. It's just going to be somewhere you're not going to have that. Like I'll use the headbanging style example. It's the headbanging style. It's going to be a little bit more like if you're headbanging, it's going to be a little more of a smoother headbang instead of more of that rough, just like like that. It's going to be more of that, a little bit more of a fluid motion, so you're not going to end up like completely blowing out your neck, and by the time you wake up in the morning you're not going to be able to move your head because you were headbanging so hard that your neck was so stiff.
Yeah.
So definitely that kind of aspect is there, but it's just not as rough, I would say. That's the best way to put it. It's just not as rough.
Yeah. Maybe you can try to go rougher for the next coming songs. Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're gonna like on the next segment, you're gonna go rough with some sort of like metalcore instrumentation. And Manuel's gonna be like, "Yeah, I can double tap on this one a lot."
He's gonna complain that we are giving him another examination.
Yeah.
just make sure he's got a lot of water and a lot of Red Bull.
Yeah, bro. A lot of Red Bull.
Monkey shoulder. A lot of monkey shoulder. A lot of singleton. Oh, whiskey, bro.
Ooh.
Yeah, we just have to imagine when we start playing and then people will start to go around in mosh pits. Then yeah.
Yeah, actually that's like one of the things we always talked about. Like we really want to write a song which is like so heavy. No, not heavy, but like so like in tune with like the heart of like these fans that like people just like go crazy and start moshing and stuff. Because like, it's not really a thing in Singapore, because like I think like there was like an event where like I think the Esplanade, the Bay Beats, right? The one on the Power stage. Like, so like basically is this event where like the local bands will play like on the metal stage, and like the police actually came and like kind of stopped the mosh pit, because like it's like Singaporean police is a bit like the law is a bit strict. Then they'd be like, oh yeah, moshing is like violence, like let's not do that, and like let's stop it, which is kind of bullshit. But it's like our dream to like be on stage and like write a song like strong enough that people just like fuck the law, man. Let's just like go crazy and like mosh, So that's like it's like a very big inspiration for us whenever we write a song.
Yeah, and then you bring a song like that over to America, and all of a sudden you start out with it, and next thing you know, all of a sudden, like there's 70, 80 people all of a sudden in a mosh pit going absolutely crazy. You're like, well, this is happening. Alrighty.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you brought up, of course, you're in Singapore, so I would assume you played the majority of your shows in Singapore up to this point. So what's it like playing shows over in Singapore? Because I've never really heard anything about what it's like, playing shows, especially with this kind of music over there. So please let me know, because I am very intrigued.
I think if you know the right people and like they can help you market to the right crowd, it can be pretty decent. But like it's always small. Regardless of what it is, it's always small. But like it can be decent if you know the right people. But if you're just gonna like play like say like a bar gig, right? Like we have done like quite a few. Like I think that we've done like easily like 5, like almost like 10 plus bar gigs, right? More than 10 easily. And like the only people who actually like come and hit bang with us are like random like white people from America.
Yeah.
Local people.
Yeah. There's one story like we played this like we played at this we were playing at this place. I think this was like a like 3rd or 4th like gig, and we played Rage Against the Machine. We played Killing the Name Off. This was like very early in our band, so we played first chord, and like I feel like just white boys just ran in, and then just like, bro, I heard Rage in the Machine, I had to come, and like, man, I was like, feel like, wow, man, shit, it'd be good if we were in America, man. Like, I think we would have a bigger following, because like, dude, Singaporeans are not very like, especially like Singaporeans who will go to the bars and stuff. They're not very into this genre. So if you're just playing, like, you gotta hope for like the foreigners to like it, man.
So over in Singapore, what are the genres that are very much more prevalent that people are listening to when they go to bars, go hang out, just do all that kind of stuff?
Fucking pop, bro.
No.
Top 40 song.
Pop, K-pop.
I think acoustic is the main. Yeah, majority of them are acoustic.
And you go on stage, you curse, and the government's never gonna like invite you to any like fucking gigs, bro.
No, really?
Yeah, like
it's too strict.
Yeah.
you can't curse. You should like if you go on like an organization, because most of the organizations who like run these bigger gigs, right? They have ties to the government because we have a very strict like laws on what we can and cannot play. So like if private gigs you can just do what the fuck you want, it's fine. But like for like these gigs with like affiliated with the government, like if you go on stage and you're just like, yay, are you guys fucking ready? And then like, okay, that's like the last year you're going to be there. You're not going to be there anymore.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's quite strict. Yeah.
Very strict.
Yeah, it's very different here, man. Very different here.
Yeah, even for the songs that we want to perform, we need to submit to a board of organization for them to filter first.
Yeah,
and to get their approval before we get to perform the songs.
Murder Machine had quite a few vulgarities inside before I removed them.
Yeah. So if you're playing any gig or anything that has some sort of government ties to it, make sure you do the clean version, okay?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember the killing in the name, right?
Don't do killing the name. All of a sudden, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. I'm not necessarily sure they're gonna take too kindly to that.
I had to do like a censored version of Killing the Name before, man. That was like, it made me like die like a little bit inside.
Just like
you,
just like
the F word.
Like, instead of saying the F word, I just
crazy.
It's like
breath.
You won't do what you tell me. You won't do what you tell me.
Yeah, exactly. That was so crazy, right?
Yeah, dude. Like that was sad. And again, during that particular gig, another white boy came out. He was skating and he was like, "Bro, are you guys playing Killing the Name off?" And like the whole time he was screaming at me, just like, just say fuck, man, do it. Just say fuck. And I was like, I can't on stage, I'll get scolded. It's like we get
I remember they are the one who shouted the fuck you, bro.
Yeah, they shouted for us.
On behalf of us.
Yeah, well, I mean, if that's the way you can get around it, just all of a sudden have the fans just say it, and then all of a sudden you just
sign. Please curse for me.
You're fine.
Just hold the sign. It's like we can't curse, but you could.
Government can stop you. Yeah.
I mean, but if you ever come over to America and all of a sudden you're playing a gig and you're just like, "Are you guys ready to fucking rock?" And all of a sudden you're gonna hear everyone just go like, "Yeah, fuck yeah!" You're gonna see him like already like flipping you off, and like there's like, "Let's go!"
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's what we want.
And just have some
loads of restrictions here, man. Like I think it's like already like the genre of metal is a bit suppressed by the mainstream media. But like in Singapore with all these extra restrictions, like man, rock, metal, punk is all like it's about like, man, like fuck this shit, man, like let's go kind of thing.
Yeah,
and, like,
it's like last year there's this incident where there's a band called Watain. What I'm not very sure how to pronounce it, but they're like black metal, I think.
Whiting. I think.
Yeah, they were trying to come to Singapore to perform, and then some like Christian
organization,
go and oppose it. They submit some kind of proposal to the government, and then in the end they were banned from coming in. So I think some of the people here might be a bit uptight about it.
Yeah. A bit is like is underestimating, man.
Yeah, they're very uptight about it. So,
but then again, thinking about it, it's very interesting where the type of music that you guys are playing and the type of music that you guys listen to is really seems like it's a little bit, in a sense, restricted and a little bit taboo over in Singapore right now.
I think we're like considering a lot of the stuff we want to say. It's already like we're really restricting ourselves already. Like Like, I think freedom of speech is like an issue with Singapore. But at the same time, like I think we have a good country. I don't want to bash Singapore because I really like where I'm staying, because I think it's a really good country if you read up on it and stuff. Like, but there's like politics and economy wise, but sometimes it can be a bit suffocating. So like a lot of what we write comes from the fact that like Singapore can like sometimes like suffocate you a bit. I think a good example of it is like Singapore is like a dad who really loves you, but like he's like so fucking overprotective.
Okay.
Like anything you come close to, then he's just like, yeah, no. The guy's gonna make you eat drugs. He's gonna make you like go crazy. He's gonna make you go to prison. So like no. Then like so there's so much control, man. Yeah. So in that way, it can be a bit stuffy.
Okay, because I've read a little bit about Singapore when I was back in school, when I was in college, because I studied economics, and one of my, I think, what was that, my senior paper, my final paper that I had to write, it was anything I wanted to write it on to get my degree, and I did a comparison between Southeastern Asian countries and countries in South America from the beginning of like the 1950s to the year 2000, seeing their economic growth. And it was always something where you looked at them and it was Southeastern Asian countries. It was in terms of economic growth, in terms of their GDP per capita. It was, they blew South American countries out of the water, but then Singapore was like something completely different.
Yeah.
Where it was it was the top growing one or country that I looked at out of 8, because I looked at 8 for each. It was like the top growing. I'm like, geez, they really did something right there when it came to growing the economy. My God, because it was just a super strong economy. One of the top, like always consistently one of the most wealthy countries in the world when you look at GDP per capita.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like standard of living, it's the standard is very high from what I saw.
Yeah.
But then again, I do like the comparison you made where you're talking about a very overprotective dad where he loves you, wants the best, he wants you to do the best, but also at times it's like, I'm going to want to do this. Oh no, don't do that. That's not good. Why? Just trust me. Just trust me. It's like, well, maybe I like listening to metal music. Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe I just want to say something more. And like, okay, a bit of a disclaimer. The reason why I'm talking more about this is because like I'm actually the only Singaporean in my band. Like,
really?
We come from different countries.
Oh wow!
I come from Malaysia. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
me and Archie, we originated from Malaysia, and Benno is from Philippines.
Yeah, I'm from Philippines.
Yeah. So we're all actually from different countries. Yeah. Yeah. But we're all staying in Singapore right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, in some ways, like Singapore is more like a New York or in US, where youngsters go there and start their career over there.
Yeah,
for opportunity and stuff.
Okay, that makes sense, especially kind of comparing it to some major cities here in the US, especially New York. That does make a lot more sense, and it's connecting a lot more things in my mind here. But
I think government wise, like I would say, like Singapore, it's very Machiavellian. Like as long like the end looks really good, like whatever you did to get to the point, nobody gives a fuck about that shit. Like as long as we're like rich, we're like safe, like healthcare is good. Like nobody really cares about like the government really like doesn't really give a shit about like how we got to there. Like even men suppressing people, like even men like you can't say what you really want to say. Yeah. So like in a way, like I would say like it's good because
so
like.
It's in a way, it's kind of like what they're doing is the class saying the end justifies the means. So it's like doesn't matter how we got there though.
Yeah.
And I was not expecting to have the term Machiavellian brought up on this podcast ever, but my God, am I glad it came up because that is just awesome.
I mean, it's a big theme in a lot of stuff we write. Like because I write most of the lyrics. Like, so a lot of stuff I write is about like it comes from a place of love because I love my country. Like I am patriotic as like everybody. Most people are patriotic. They love their own country, but it's just that like you have to be aware of like the negative sides of your country, man. You can't just like blindly love your country,
Exactly.
Like example, like if I was American, I love America. I think honestly as Singaporean, I like America a lot. I think it's a great country. But like, dude, there's some shit like going on right now, and like but yeah, like. Yeah, it's like a lot of shit going on. so like as a Singaporean, I'm very aware of what like issues in Singapore, and like I'm very aware about like how oppressive it can be, and so that it comes out in the music. So and this comes out in the lyrics and how we write stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's always kind of the punk rock trope too, where it's just, you know, you can absolutely love the country that you're in. Like, I'll use the Ramones as an example, where it's they like the Ramones, they loved America, but it was just something where they weren't afraid to say things that they thought were wrong with it.
Yeah.
So it really kind of comes through that, and when it comes to, I'm gonna kind of just make a connection when it comes to me looking at music and review music as well, especially from like the bands I really love. So it's like if I think they came up with a bad album, it's I'm gonna say it because it's just the way it is. That's just the truth of it.
Yep.
The way, and I'm gonna give you the reasonings why behind it, but that's just the truth behind it. Because nothing's perfect. So it's like, I mean, taking a look at America, it's we got a lot of great things going on, but there's also always a lot of shit to go along with it too. And there's always a bunch of argument going back and forth. I'm just not gonna go too much into it because, well, this is music. I'm not really fully into it. I really just don't want to go all into it because I'm gonna end up getting into like some huge discussion with someone later down the line that I just don't really want to get into right now when I want to talk about music instead. But bringing in your music as well is just when you're writing the lyrics and you're talking about different things that are happening, like kind of in Singapore, and just kind of certain things where it's like, this place is great, but there are things that maybe aren't the greatest in the end. Bring out your music, bring some attention to it, because you never know what kind of change it might inflict later down the line.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like honestly, I think a lot of our music will like resonate with like maybe New Yorkers, like people who live in like big ass cities, like where everything's like so fucking expensive.
Yeah.
And everything's expensive. Everything's like there's so much pressure just to like perform. And like at least that's where I write the lyrics from. Like dude, like how the cheapest house you can get in Singapore is like easily like 400K.
Dang.
Yeah, I mean 400K sing. So like I would say that it's maybe about like I'm like kind of drunk. So like maybe it's like 300K like US.
Well, how about instead of us guessing it, let's take a look at the conversion rate.
Tough good math right now, man.
Yeah, drunk.
I'm pulling it up right now. So United States dollar, or so how much did you say it was? About 400,000?
About 400.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so in US dollars right now, it would be $279,901.
Yeah. So there's like there's like government subsidied housing. Yeah.
Well, I can't believe we actually just did this conversion here. Now that's just too cool.
And never had this kind of podcast before, right?
Yeah, again, just doing completely different things here that I never expected us to do. Yeah. But then again, it's something where, I mean, you can even see that in different places here in the United States as well, because I use New York as an example versus where I live right now. Because where I live right now, the place that I'm living in right now, rent per month is $600, and I have a 1-bedroom. So it's a house that has, it's like a duplex. So it's a house that has 2 separate parts to it. And I live in the upper flat part. So I'm got a 1-bedroom, like literally like a 1-bedroom flat up here. It's $600 per month. If I went to New York and tried to find something like this for that amount of price, for that, like just something like this, it could easily be about twice that, if maybe more. So it's just, when it comes to living in bigger cities, it's just, things are going to be more expensive. Mm-hmm. And even if I went 90 miles south into Chicago as well, it'd be the exact same thing. Maybe not as expensive, just not that expensive, but it would be rather expensive as well. So it just comes to a place where where you're living right now is just, especially with where you're living, with being in Singapore, and just the stuff that you're dealing with in Singapore, it could be very similar to what people are dealing with in New York as well. So when it comes to trying to figure out how to get people to listen to your music and find an audience for your music, trying to find a way to kind of break into New York as well and kind of try and get into some of the ears of people that live there might really work well, because they're going to be able to resonate a lot more with what you're saying, and maybe make a lot more connections with it between what they're experiencing there versus what you're experiencing in Singapore.
Yeah.
Thanks for the idea. To try to
try to like message some New Yorkers.
well, I was gonna say that leads right into this. What I'm curious about is especially because when it comes to what you're saying with Singapore, where it's not necessarily the biggest, they're not necessarily the biggest with your kind of music, with just the way the people are and just kind of the way the pop culture is, where, oh, you know, we're not necessarily listening to the type of music that you guys are making. What are you doing to grow your band, not only in Singapore, but in other places across the world where rock music, maybe grunge, hard rock, more punk rock, that kind of stuff is a lot more prevalent?
William, go.
Okay, so most of the time I do the band marketing stuff. So approaching you is one of our marketing strategies. Because in a way
He's the
that
hardest working guy now, man.
in a way that we know that with our music we can't grow much in Singapore. So what we intend to do is to bring our music abroad, like going to countries like America, Canada, Australia. So those are the countries we would like to venture to. So like daily I will scroll a lot of Instagrams posts from other bands, like get to know what they are doing, what kind of marketing stuff they do. And that's why I got to find out about your podcast and end up I sent an email to you to tell you about our music.
Understandable that you kind of want to get more into these other markets as well, and I mean, I'll put it this way: messaging me and messaging me, and all of a sudden, boom, us doing this podcast. That's a step there. However, my next question is that can't be the only thing, especially with, again, right now we're dealing with this whole entire coronavirus pandemic. We're dealing with the lockdown. So it's like people can't really go very much far places. So one thing I'm always asking every single band is people can't go many places, and musicians, you can't play live music. I know I've seen a lot of people do like streaming concerts where it's like, oh, we're going to go online. We're going to do a live stream. We're going to play a couple songs kind of thing to try and just keep people connected to the band and to grow the band and just keep going there. So when it comes to the time that we're in right now, what specifically are you doing to make sure the band continues to grow? And whether it's, overseas, whether it's through online marketing, whether it's through paid ads, YouTube ads, whatever it might be, what is your strategy right now?
At the moment, what we notice other bands are doing, they're doing a lot of collaboration covers, like different members, they do their own recording at home and end up they will merge up their recordings together to do a cover. I think it's a good initiative. Even though you can't get a lot of revenue from these covers, but it's in a way you can like market your band to other genres. Like because not many people are acceptive of grunge and hard rock. So maybe we can pick up a new song. Say, pick an example, like the band Trivium. We can maybe if we are good enough, we can cover one of their songs and try to make the songs one of the covers that we can market as. And this is what other bands are doing, basically. Yeah.
Sorry, and like when it's not the COVID period, like before that, like outside Singapore, like actually in Malaysia and Indonesia and Philippines especially, like band like the fans actually like there's a huge amount of fans who like want rock music and want like metal music. Like in the market there is like so much bigger than Singapore. Like Singapore people have like a bit of like a hive mind. They like the pop and like there's a very big K-pop and pop like subset. But like in like the other Southeast Asian countries, they like rock a lot. And like we're very fortunate that we have a Filipino member in our group.
Yeah.
But like we have made connections with like several like really really fucking good like Filipino bands. Like bands like
from the Philippines.
Yeah, like they like really really good bands. Like I really like recommend that you like give a listen to like this band called Franco. Like
Okay.
it's like a band we really respect a lot and that we're really big fans of. And yeah, like so like basically making friends with like these kind of bands, and like we were trying to like maybe like leverage, like I mean it's not really trying to use them, like because we are fans, we are fans at heart. But basically we're just trying to like make some rapport and like ask them like what did they do to bring to the market, and like do you think like our music is good enough to bring to the market and kind of thing. So basically just like kind of like bouncing back and forth with them, you know.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm gonna have to comment on this stuff. So, what William was saying about what a lot of their bands are doing is they're doing covers of certain songs to try and build on that. It's something that I've seen some bands do and it works out well, and I've seen some bands do and it hasn't necessarily worked out well. One band that has done this, playing covers and done it to what I think is the best that any band has done it so far is the band From Ashes to New, because they're doing a lot of different covers of different styles.
Ashes to New.
Yeah, like because they've done
recently covered Papa Roach.
Yeah, because they covered Papa Roach's Gravity, and they even brought in Jen Ledger, the drummer from Skillet, to do the female vocals that normally Maria Brink would have done on that track. So it worked out really. They just did Bullet for My Valentine's, Tears Don't Fall. I can't remember one of the other ones that they did, but what they're doing with that is how they're creating those live streams as well. One of my other favorite ones is, I know this one isn't necessarily getting big because this was the label Fearless Records. They did this whole entire thing called Fearless from Home last week. And they had bands come on. They played, they either played like their own. They basically would only play like their own songs and whatnot, and then do a little bit of an interview afterwards. And of course, I paid attention because someone told me that one of my favorite bands, Ice Nine Kills, was going to be on it. And they did a cover of the song "Stacy's Mom" by Fountains of Wayne, and they changed it up because because they're big into the horror movies and that's basically their whole entire, I'd say, gimmick actually, but it's their whole entire style is metalcore, and then like that has that horror trope in there, but a lot of their songs are based off of like their last album was based. Every song was based off of a different horror movie, and it was the 40th anniversary of the horror movie Friday the 13th coming out. So they took the song "Stacy's Mom" and they made it all about the movie Friday the 13th, and they called it "Jason's Mom" instead. And it was something I listened to. I'm like, wow, it was acoustic, it was different, but it was good and funny at the same time. Like, now that's something that can really get something going on there because it's fun. It's lighthearted. But from what you guys could potentially do with something like that is find different bands that, because everyone's doing like hard rock or something more metal. I've seen one band try and do grunge music, and that's been Puddle of Mud. And I'll put it this way, it did not go well. So it's a little tough, but that's because they went with I forgot what Nirvana song they tried covering, but a lot of people didn't like it because of how different it sounded from Nirvana. It just didn't sound right as a cover. Where you guys could come in is try and do a cover like that, but I wouldn't necessarily say go Nirvana. Maybe go Soundgarden, maybe go Alice in Chains, go Pearl Jam. Try something. I would say stay away. My guess would be just stay away from Nirvana, but try something where you're going to bring in a different grunge band that people really did like back, that was really popular back in like the early mid 90s.
Like About a Girl?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the one. Right?
Yeah, and it went. People just went off on it. They hated it.
It was huge on Reddit.
Yeah,
it went viral.
Oh yeah,
viral in a negative way. No.
Up to a point that the organizer had to remove the video from the YouTube.
Yeah,
the video uploader.
That was pretty fucking bad, man.
Yeah, so now you can see what I'm saying. Maybe don't go with Nirvana songs. Maybe go with something. Yeah, maybe go Alice in Chains. Maybe go Pearl Jam. Maybe go Rage Against the Machine because you guys have done that before.
Yeah,
you can give it a shot, and then when you're trying to market it and grow. And you potentially grow your audience when you're trying to market, hey, we did a stream song kind of thing where it's like we basically did a cover, but all of us are in different areas, and try and market in places like the Philippines, like Malaysia, like Indonesia, and try and market it, in United Kingdom, England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, that United States as well. And of course, always one of the big ones when it comes to rock and metal that you always can want to, I would say, market your stuff because they're crazy about it is Germany. Germany loves this stuff from what I've seen, and even even the stuff I market, because I've talked to a bunch of bands I've talked to that are over in Europe. If they're not from Germany, the key is try and get into Germany, because then that's going to end up, if you start really making a name for yourself there and they start getting your music, it's just going to expand on itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the Germany of Southeast Asia is like Philippines.
Well, you guys are giving me ideas. I want to get this podcast out, how and where to market it. So, Philippines, here we come.
Good idea for you.
And then when it comes to putting your song out too, it's like, where am I going to try and market that? Got to remember, send it to the Philippines.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good bands also in the Philippines, and they really need to have this marketing kind of stuff also to be heard.
Yeah, because it's all basically what it's all about is it's all about, especially with the way the world is, you know, you got social media on there and just trying to see how many people are on there and how many eyes are on there. And the fact of the matter is now you don't have to go to a record label, try and get signed to get your stuff put out there, because you can put your stuff out online and it's there for people to listen to. There's no real distribution costs associated with trying to put it out online. The problem is trying to get it noticed online for people to actually notice it, listen to it, and then potentially share it even further, whether it's they actually share the song on their social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it might be. Or they are talking to their friends and they're like, hey, I checked out this song from Igneous Sons, band from Singapore. You guys should listen to them. Oh, well, maybe we should. Well, let me play them for you. Boom. And then all of a sudden it just keeps growing that way. It's all about it's all about figuring out a way to get the attention of that audience and to use that attention to get them to do something such as listen to your music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, marketing's hard, man.
Oh, I'm well aware of that. Yeah. I've had my own troubles too with that. And and I'll put it this way, even though I've been at this for 2 years, like I've had some success with it, but I mean, I've also had a lot of failures with it where all of a sudden it's like, okay, I put this out there. Yeah, or there's some things where it's like, yeah, it gets a lot of attention. It gets a lot of views on, it gets a lot of views on Instagram or it gets a lot of views on Facebook. Then all of a sudden I try and take a look at, like, if it's a YouTube video that I'm trying to promote, it's like, okay, I'll take a look at how many views this YouTube video has. And there's barely any. It's like, so I'm doing something where it's getting, it's like, basically it's like at that point, it's like, I know my targeting for when I'm trying to market to people, I know that's working because it's getting seen by people. However, the problem is in what I'm doing to try and get people to see it to actually click on it or tap it to get to the next thing.
Yeah.
It's a bit hard if you're talking about YouTube, right? Because of the algorithm. The
algorithm, yeah.
You can't really get views to boost up the views. Like, it's more effective if you are doing it in Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, but it's way less effective if you're doing it in YouTube. As YouTube is a bit biased because of the algorithm.
Because I was gonna say, like, I've had success with YouTube ads where it's like, because on one of my podcasts was the one I did with a band from Germany called Venues. I had the YouTube ad running for that one, and I mean, people started reviewing it, and all of a sudden the ad stopped, and all of a sudden it's like, oh well, people stopped listening. But all of a sudden it was like, I'm getting thousands of views on it. I'm like, okay, this is good. Then I look at my next and I'm just like, oh, the ad didn't work, and because YouTube took it down. Because they said it was a political ad for the United Kingdom. I'm like, this is me and a lead singer of a band from Portugal talking about how he got Maddie Mullins from Memphis May Fire to be on their first song. So I'm like, come on. And then the second one, it didn't run either. I'm like, the guys are talking about, how crazy it was when all of a sudden they were playing at a show and they ended their set, and basically that's all the songs they had ever recorded at that point and knew and had planned for. And as they were going off stage, people were stopping them from going off stage because they wanted to hear more. It's like, and they decided not to even play that one. They're like, yeah, it's a ad, it's enabled, but it's not, running. I'm like, well, can it run? We'll see. I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Help me.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's hard, man. I think YouTube is like a dying platform. Yeah.
I'll put it this way. When it comes to YouTube, I don't think YouTube is a dying platform, but when it comes to trying to advertise on it, it's really hard to advertise on it due to the fact that
copyrights.
I would say copyrights, but not only that, but it's just there's so much noise on YouTube where it's what's the best way to put it? It's overvalued. So it's just like the return on like you're putting money in, the return you get back on it. It's just there's the value is just not there. But when it comes to like Instagram right now, because that's where all the attention is, you put some out on there, it's a lot easier to get discovered on there because people are advertising on Instagram, but it's not as much as they are on YouTube or on Facebook or on Twitter as well, just because Instagram is a younger platform still. Because it came out, I think, 2010 or 2012 or something like that. It's not 10 years old yet. But versus something like YouTube, which is over 15 years old, Facebook, which is getting close to being 20 years old as an entity, Twitter, which is getting close to 15 as well. It's just people that are marketing on this platform. They know what they've know what they've done. So bigger I'll put it this way: bigger marketing or bigger companies have seen that it works, so they're putting more money into it. So all of a sudden, the price is going up for the ads of how many cost per click that you get or cost per impression that you get. But so that's going up, so the overall attention is going down. Versus Instagram, where it's what I'd say is the value is still there right now. It's starting to go down in value, but it's still there just because there's so many people there, and there's companies that are promoting on Instagram, but they're still promoting a lot more on Facebook than Instagram. When they start promoting much more on Instagram, there's going to always be another platform that's going to come up, kind of like TikTok here in the United States. It's kind of that's blown up right now. But for me, I'm not really marketing on TikTok, just because one thing I've noticed with me is I'm taking a look at the music that people are putting to their song, like putting to their videos on TikTok. It's nothing that I work with, so it would just, for me right now, it would just be wasted money.
Yeah. TikTok is more towards those dance genre, K-pop.
K-pop, hip hop, rap, pop music. That's the main focus on it, just because when it's so much, it's easier for people to dance to. Especially it's easier for people to get behind and dance to.
Yeah.
Versus like someone like me, where I'm just like, come on, I want to go something crazier. Nope.
I want to hit back.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I like to do though. Just
Yeah. I mean, but like this more like than just the whole marketing thing. Like I think like I may not be speaking for a lot of bands, but like personally for our band, like we just like the whole aspect of like producing music and just like people enjoying it. Like the reason why I want more people to enjoy it, because like all of us have like either gonna have or have like regular jobs. Like we don't need money really, but we just really want like people to like listen to the music and just like and like be like you. Let's tell us what you think about it, and just if you like it, be a fan. If you don't like it, tell us why you don't like it, and just like share, like experience this with us, And it's like when you're an artist, like you create something, you just want to share it, and like it's like for me, like personally, it's purely for just that. I don't really want people to like you don't have to fucking pay me, man. Like I'll go on stage if there's like 1,000 people like want to watch me. Like you don't have to fucking pay me. I just want to go there and just like and let them enjoy. Like maybe this will my age badly, because I imagine next time, like if I actually get paid, then like Ray said he didn't want to get paid. Then why is he getting paid now? But like,
it's like, well, things change, man.
Yeah, but at the same time, like just watching people like enjoy music it's like a huge fucking reward to us.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, take a look at a lot. I was gonna say, take a look at a lot of the bands that are out, like almost every single band right now. A lot of them, they're doing this stuff, but they really want to get back on stage and perform in front of people, because that's what they want. It's like that's what they love to do. I forgot. God, I can never remember the guy's name, but it's the lead singer for the band Attila. He went on this whole entire tirade on Twitter about how when concerts are come back to the United States, they're going to be a lot different, especially for rock and metal shows, because people are going to have to be more spaced out. They're not going to be, there's not going to be as many people there. You can't mosh, you can't crowd surf, and the prices are going to go up because there's not as many people that are going to be let in. So if the bands are going to try and, just make sure these tours, they can actually not only make money, but just break even on some of them. They're going to have to up the prices. And he's like, I'm not looking forward to this, because now it's not like that aspect where he doesn't want people having to pay these incredible prices just to get, see these bands play. But the bands don't want to go out there and, play and just, spend thousands upon thousands of dollars and get nothing in return. But the main thing is, it's just, if you have people so spread out and whatnot, and I get why they're trying to do it, but it's for the shows I go to specifically, it's just if I'm spread out, the energy is just not there anymore. And that's always just
awkward. Everybody's staring at you and stuff.
It really does. And it's like it's I know they want to go up, I know they want to get back on stage because that's what they want to do. That's what they love. They love playing music in front of people, but it's not going to be the same if that energy is not there, because for a band like, I mean, I was supposed to go see As I Lay Dying in the middle of June. That's being pushed back to March of next year. And I'm like, well, if I go see them and it's like, okay, you still need to be spaced out and everything, it's not going to go well because I'm going to want to run into somebody. I'm going to be like, let's go. I mean, come on.
You want someone to shove you in the face?
I mean, come on. They hit the intro in their new album. And all of a sudden, they start playing "Blinded." I mean, right after you hear, "Have you ever been blinded by the pain?" I mean, there's gonna be people just lined up in a wall of death formation, just go at it. I mean, if you can't, if that happens, I mean, if you're listening to that kind of music, but everyone's spaced out, has to be standing there like this, just going like this, that's just not nearly as fun. You got to be with the people. You got to have that energy flowing back and forth, going absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Don't.
With all those restrictions, it would be very meaningless.
Yeah, like our last gig actually was like it wasn't. It's not like in the peak of the COVID period, but like it's like the starting period. So like not a lot of people were like at our gig. So we just did this like random ass open mic in the bar. So we performed, and like literally, I think like in the room there was like maybe like 15 people watching us, like 15 people, and we just performed, and like. Honestly, like I think we were just enjoying the fact that like the 15 people in the room just enjoyed the music, and like even the fucking chef came out of the kitchen and he was like, because like I think like he came out when we played like Toxicity by System of a Down.
Yes.
He did a cover for it. Yeah. So like he came out and then he was like, oh my god, I didn't play fucking Toxicity, and like so like the 15 plus the chef, like just like honestly that was good enough for me, man. Like I didn't need like fucking people like, oh, please touch me and shit. Like, no, like just enjoy the music, man. That's all I need. And that was good. Like, I miss that shit, man. Like, I miss doing that. Like, surprising people.
Yeah.
Like, surprising people.
Well, I miss a little bit of that too as a fan as well, because there was there was like a smaller little like neighborhood party festival thing that was happening around a neighborhood I used to live in, and this was at the end of January. So my buddy and I, my best friend and I, we went, and all of a sudden there was this like really small punk rock band that was playing on the one stage they had, and we're like, this is an area that's a lot more in tune to like more pop music. And if they're going to be listening to anything with more rock, it's going to be definitely soft alternative rock. But I'm like, this is a punk show. This is nuts. And my buddy really likes that soft alternative stuff as well. All of a sudden, we're walking by him, and all of a sudden, like, this is our last song for the night. And all of a sudden, my buddy looks at me, he's like, dude, you want to start a mosh pit in that crowd? There's a crowd of like 50 people. I looked at him, I'm like, I never expect you to say that. He's like, do you want to start a mosh pit? I'm like, let's go. We go in there. And all of a sudden they start playing. He's like, I got to start this. He literally just puts his shoulder into me, knocks me into someone. I get back at him, knock my shoulder at him. He goes flying into this big guy, like 6'6", about 300 pounds. And I'm like, oh God, I'm screwed. Next thing you know, we got this. It's all 50 people that were standing in front watching this band. I mean, we got a 50-person mosh pit going during their last song. It was so much fun. I had like a bottle like this in my hand, and the reason I had it still in my hand was because it was full. It was full of tequila. So I'm like, shit, I don't want to drop this thing. So I'm getting knocked around, but I'm like, hold it.
By the lemons on your like shoulder, you're like, no, don't drop.
It's like, no. All of a sudden, song ended. I hadn't dropped it yet, and one of the guys looked at me. He's like, you should have put that thing down, man. You could have mosh. I'm like, it has tequila, and he's like, okay, that makes sense. He's like, you can have some of it. I literally opened it up. I'm just like, all right, taking a shot. I just took it down. I probably took it would have been a total of like a double shot. I'm like, woo, all right, here we go. It was an interesting time, but it was so much fun just surprising this small punk band with all of a sudden, you're playing and it was raw punk rock too. It was like stuff I'd expect out of late 80s, early 90s kind of punk rock style.
Dude.
And it was just nuts. And all of a sudden, people are just sitting around like this. And all of a sudden, it's just, you see two guys come in. And all of a sudden, one pushes one of them. I shove my buddy. And all of a sudden, boom. Next thing you know, It's like a pinball machine.
That band is gonna remember you guys for like forever.
Yeah, it's like we played this festival called Mitten Fest. Yes, like little the gloves you wear in your hand in winter. Yeah, it's Mitten
We
Fest.
don't have winter.
Lucky you.
Yes.
We have like dry summer and wet summer.
Well, imagine wet summer but really cold.
Yeah.
That's what we get. So basically, that's what's kind of going on. I don't think it was snowing at that time though, but we were just pushing. It was we got that pick going. It was just so much fun. But I mean, the biggest thing about it was it just worked because it's just this band got super surprised by all of a sudden. This, you're having people that probably aren't going to really do anything. All of a sudden, a huge mosh pit forms out of nowhere. Come on, you can't get better than that. And it really does also coincide with what you guys are talking about with, just surprising people because because even as fans, we love to have, when all of a sudden, you're playing a cover and all of a sudden just goes absolutely like that we didn't expect, but goes real well. Another example I have of that was I went to end of 2019, like October 2019, I went to go to see A Day to Remember. And they covered the song My Own Worst Enemy by Lit. It's like a total like 90s rock song. And they covered it, but a couple days before, and I heard that they were doing it. So I'm like, I knew it. And all of a sudden, Jerry McKinnon comes out. He's like, well, if any of you watched on YouTube, you spoiled the surprise, but here's a cover that we've been working on. And they played it. And it was almost perfect. It was a great surprise just to hear as well. It was just, oh, this is fun. So the band surprised you like that. Like the fans are just like, we want more of this shit. Yeah.
It is like we have this like basically like at this point it's almost a ritual that we will do like a sound check with Toxicity. It's like because like people will like it's not the kind of song you do for a fucking sound check.
No, it's not.
Yeah, so we've done it for like I think like 3 or 4
most
gigs.
of our gigs
Most of our gigs like we were like go on the stage and like, hey, William, we need to do some check. What song you do? Fuck yeah, this is Toxicity.
Just do Toxicity.
Yeah, just do it. Just do it.
This is our loudest song.
Yeah. It's our loudest cover song. We have like of course you have own shit, but yeah.
Well, one of the things I've seen too is and that this is when you get to those major concerts and you have, multiple bands on the bill and all of a sudden, one band goes off and the roadies are kind of taking down stuff from the first band. They're trying to put the next band and they always end up playing music in between. And one thing I found out though was there are some bands when they play music in between, it's like some just, they're not the best. There's some though that is just like, oh man, they play some of the best music. And one of the best times is you get a bunch of hard rock and metal heads in there and they're waiting for the next band to go on. And you start playing Chop Suey. All of a sudden, people just go
crazy.
When I was at A Day to Remember, we were waiting for them to put on or like get set up for A Day to Remember. They started playing Chop Suey. We got a mosh pit going. No band was on during that time. They were just playing Chop Suey. You're just going nuts.
Chop Suey is like it's like on a different dimension in like energy songs. Like the moment I moment I hit a fucking like acoustic riff, it's like you just can't stop, man. It's like so good.
Yeah,
I love that song.
Funniest part about that was after they played Chop Suey, they were like, I think they're gonna try and go like stick with that, but I think someone told them that like the crowd's getting rowdy when the band's not on, so we had to play something softer.
Okay.
But then they end up playing "Numb" by Linkin Park, and it went from everyone just singing along to it, just going like everyone just enjoying it, and then like okay, if you're gonna take us away from something that's really hard like Chop, like go crazy while we're waiting for a show like Chop Suey, and all of a sudden it's like okay, we gotta stop. But you go to Linkin Park, you go to "Numb." I mean, if you're trying to calm us down but keep us happy, that's the perfect way to do it.
Yeah, so they can sing along.
I mean, it was just so much fun, and all of a sudden, there goes Ray. I don't know where he went, but
right to the washroom, I guess.
I just heard "Give Me a Minute." And I saw him put the earbuds down and just up and woo. All right, because I'm taking a look at. I'll put it this way: I'm taking a look at the time right now, and usually for these, I usually go about if at the most 2 hours. We have hit the 2 hour mark, but well, with Ray gone, I'm enjoying talking to you guys, so. I'm going to ask you another question. How about that?
Sure.
And this is all about your live, like you guys playing live shows and whatnot. So the question is, what was your best live show experience?
Best live show.
What was?
Yeah, I think the white guy is the one what we are mentioning before.
The Rage Against the Machine guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I noticed one white guy doing a sign of a cross after the second chorus, I guess. Yeah, before going to the heaviest part, and they went crazy, and the locals here just looking at them, those to those white guys, and it's very interesting because you can see who are the music lovers or the same genre we love it. It's very interesting.
I mean, just hearing that being like your favorite live show story of all time. I mean, I feel like I got to come over to Singapore once this whole entire thing is all over. There's so many places I have to go when this whole entire coronavirus thing is all over. Because all of a sudden, you guys are going to be playing. All of a sudden, you're going to see just, people just, locals just kind of like, whatever. So all of a sudden, okay, there's another crazy white guy rocking out to everything we do. Oh my God, it's Kevin. And I'm just going to be like, yeah.
That's exactly the feeling.
That's exactly what I would do, honestly. All of a sudden, you see a couple other tourists right there that are loving it. I'm just gonna end up literally jumping in, maybe maybe trying to start a little bit of a mosh pit there, just because why not? And just having some fun with it. And I'll start pushing people. I'm like, yeah, let's go.
If you can run fast enough, just run away afterwards.
I mean, I
want to run.
I mean, I could probably pull it off. Before this podcast even started, I ran 8 miles. So I'm like, I think I could pull that off.
Yeah, that's easy, man. Like the cops are slow.
Yeah, just all of a sudden it's like, hey, stop. I'd just be like, see ya. Wee. All right. Outside of that, any other concert stories or live show stories that you guys have that just stick out in your mind?
Honestly, I think we had a pretty good one. Like where like one of our bands, like one of the bands we made friends with, actually invited us to this like gig. Yeah, but like this one was like when we just wrote Flower. Yeah, it was pretty okay, but like it was at that like because like when we perform Flower and then we perform like our set for these like people, like the energy was good, but at the end of it, like I only saw them like starting to get into it. So it made me realize like which is why like I think when we like went on and eventually wrote Murder Machine, like I realized that like this is like the reason why we need to have like we need to go crazier with our music. We need to like be less safe, because like we can't just like if we just stay accessible, like it's gonna be a stage where like people will like kind of get into it, but then they will like by the time they get into it, it's like it's over. We don't have enough time. It's like it's only 45 minutes if you're like not a big band. Singapore, like you only get about like 30 to 45 minutes to play your songs. Yeah. So that's one who stuck out to me. Like it's not really like really exciting story, but it's more like the reason why like I feel like our band evolved.
It's the reason why it's not the most exciting thing, but it's an impactful thing where it's something that really had impact on, okay, when it comes to making music, where do we want to go from here? Because I mean, you can play it safe, you can try and mix up some certain things, you can do whatever you want with the music, because again, it's your music, it's what you're going to want to do with it. However, just make sure that when you're making music, you're making it for you, and make sure that you're making exactly how you want to make it. Because I know there's a lot of bands out there where it's at times all of a sudden you see a just complete change up in their style, and sometimes it's like, hey, this change up in their style went rather well, and that's what they wanted to do, and it went forward. Or it's like they made a change up in their style. It's like, did that really go well? And maybe it was something that they want to do. Maybe it was something that maybe they were influenced to do by somebody else and they didn't like it. And one of the perfect examples of a band that did something a little bit different, and they really didn't. It's kind of like they were influenced by other people to do it, and they really didn't like it, is the band Sleeping with Sirens. Because on their 5th album, Gossip, they were influenced by so many other people and so many other producers saying, put these pop tendencies in your music, take out some of this stuff, put this in there. They worked with a lot of producers, were writing a lot more of the music, and after it came out, I mean, a lot of the fans really didn't like it, but then the band really didn't like it because they didn't feel like it was their music at all. And all of a sudden they came out with an album last year called How It Feels to Be Lost. And they went back to what they did exactly back when, like kind of how they wrote music when they first started, where it was just all the guys in a room together, just writing music, jamming out, just seeing what works and what doesn't work. And I remember when they came out their first single for that album, it was, because their most popular song ever is called If You Can't Hang. And they came out with a song called Leave It All Behind. And I watched the music video for it. And it was like If You Can't Hang Part 2, in a sense. And a lot of fans were like, oh my God, are they back to what they used to do? And like, are they back to writing the music they want to? In an interview, they said, yeah, we're writing the music the way we want to again. And we're doing it for us. And the album came out and it was just so much better. So basically what I'm trying to say is if you want to like play around with your sound, absolutely go for it. That's what you guys want to do. It's your band. You can do whatever you want with it. But one thing I always want to make sure is like you're doing it because you want to do it. Yeah. So if it comes like, making a harder sound, do it because that's what you guys feel like you want to do. If it comes to, playing with more of the grunge sound, do it because that's what you want to do. If you want to play more towards a punk sound, do it because that's what you want to do. But make sure it's for you guys.
Yeah. Like I think every time we like try to make a big change in the band, like we always have like we try to have like semi-regular like drinking sessions where we just like gather like 4 of us and we just get like wasted and we just see where it goes. And like we're gonna have one after like this whole lockdown shit is over. But anyway, like every time we have one, and I feel like the band direction just like changes a little bit, but it's always organic. I think I remember the last one we had, I had some, like personally myself, I had some noise from like outside people, like some of my friends and some people like I knew who told me like the band like had to change in this way, had to be this, like you shouldn't sound like this, like you shouldn't let them do this and stuff. But then like I realized like fuck that, like the band is like everything has to come from within, like it's all internal, and like even if you change like drastically based on what other people say, like what we say with the band and stuff, like even if like producers which have produced like great musicians and stuff, like they're really good producers, but like if you don't feel it, like it doesn't work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm saying it's like when it comes to making the music, basically the thing is make the music you want to make the music that you feel connected with. Don't make music because someone else wants you to make music in a different style. Make sure that the influences that you're making your music off of, the influence that you want to make your music off of, make sure you're writing lyrics of the stuff that you want to write about. Just make sure it's all for you, because when bands, when they first popped off and they first got big and they first started really doing a lot of stuff, they really kind of, when people really started loving them, it was because they were always doing it for themselves. It was because they were always they're making the music that they want to make. And it came from a place where it was a lot more personal. So it's like I'm trying to think of a good example of that. It's just, so when it comes like all of a sudden, like some bands, like, I mean, there's bands out there that have, all of a sudden they start out when it was like, they're talking about a lot deeper stuff. They're talking about more personal stuff. And then all of a sudden, maybe they come out with another album that's all more theoretical with what they're talking about. And it doesn't necessarily have that, personal vibe to, or personal touch to it. People just aren't going to resonate with it as well, just because it's kind of the thing where there's music when you're talking about stuff and you're talking about what you're going through, people can relate that to their own lives and basically give like a tangible feeling to that feeling. So it's like you're giving it a sound. So it's something that's easily more expressible to someone that they're trying to explain it to, because I've seen a good amount of people talk about on how a song like Falling in Reverse is Popular Monster, how people kind of felt like they were like kind of like people didn't really kind of get them, or people kind of looked at them in a bad light, even though it didn't really make any sense to them, and trying to explain how that felt. They used that song and all of a sudden people were like, oh, like people they were really close were like, oh my God, this is really how you feel. It's like, yeah, this explains it. So when it comes down to it, it's people are really able to relate more when you're really talking from a more personal place. But then again, if you're talking from a personal place, you have to want to be talking from that personal place. You can't just force it.
Yeah, people can I think like sometimes like producers and some bands, but like obviously I can't like personally say like which bands, but some bands and some producers can like actually like they feel like the fans are dumber than they are. Like, but fans are like fans, like especially like for the metal and like rock fans, like they feel things instinctually. Like if I like this music, is something, it resonates, it's something deep inside. Like I can't fucking tell you what it is, but I like it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like if a band like underestimates that shit, right, and then try to like manufacture that feeling, fans can fucking tell, man. Like I like as a fan myself, like for like so many bands, like I can fucking tell. I'm not gonna say any bands which like I feel this way about, but I can feel like this from certain few bands, like which like released like new albums and stuff, and I just gone like, bruh, like this is not my thing.
In all honesty, I think we all have those bands where it's just like when you first heard them, you start out and you liked them, and all of a sudden newer stuff is just like, wait, what's going on here? Why? Just why?
Yeah. Let's take a good example like Linkin Park. They are fall in love with them. I don't mind sharing that. Like, but because they are as a band, they will want to explore more genres. So
yeah, I think Linkin Park is a great example of that, because when they started out with Hybrid Theory, Meteor, and then you go to Minutes of Midnight, it's like they had that sound that people loved. All of a sudden, they kind of did the What I've Done for the Transformers movies, which you talked about earlier, and then people were like, wait, what's going on here? And then they kind of went into some other places, and newer fans, more pop-oriented fans were starting to like it, but more of those hard rock metal fans like, wait, what's going on here? Then they came out with their last album. It was like, okay, what the heck is actually going on? Then all of a sudden, with what happened after Chester's passing, a lot of people really looked at that album and were like, there was so much more here than we ever even knew, because we were just looking at, oh, this sounds soft, or this sounds more poppy. Why aren't they going more rock or metal again? But there was so much there. There was so much more pain and anguish there that they didn't realize. Now you listen, you're just like, how did I not realize this? So it's something that's where it's like people kind of, it's the way I'm trying to put that is that, did Linkin Park sound change over the years? Absolutely it did. But especially on that last album, was it still so personal that we didn't even know about how personal it was up until something horrible happened? Yeah. And now you look at it's like, you're kind of looking, you're like, I wish we knew. I wish we could have helped.
Yeah. Like I think like a big reason why like Linkin Park's sound changed also is because like, especially after Meteora and like right before like around the period of What I've Done, like Chester, like apparent, like correct me if I'm wrong, but like basically like they found out that his singing technique was actually kind of bad, and he was actually ruining his voice, like singing the way he did. Like it sounded really fucking good, but like it was like bad technique, like just like similar to Kurt Cobain as well. Like you're singing like it sounded so raw and so powerful, but like it's fucking up his like voice. Yeah, that might have been I'll say that might have been the case, and I can actually bring up two other vocalists where something like that similar has happened. One being David Draymond from Disturbed, because now if you listen to Disturbed music, it's a lot. It's his voice isn't as like they go with a lot softer stuff. It's not as powerful as it once was. However, you listen to a concert, it's like he's still able to do it, but he doesn't break. They always do Down with the Sickness at the end, and I think it's for two reasons. One, it's definitely their most popular song of all time, but two, trying to hit how rough it is. It's dude at the end, because all of a sudden then, the show's over after that. He doesn't have to do anything more again with his vocals. And then another one is Matt Heafy of Trivium, because if you listen to the, was it the, shoot, I can't remember the name of the album. It's going to kill me. It was the one that came out in 2015. It was, is that Until the World Goes Cold, or is that Silence in the Snow?
2015.
I don't remember off the top of my head what the name of the album is, but I'm looking it up.
From Sin and the Sentence.
Yeah, Silence in the Snow. So you listen to Silence in the Snow, it was because Matt Heafy blew out his vocals, so he couldn't do the screams anymore. So all of a sudden, it's like they went completely clean on it. Then because of just how rough the vocals were in the previous entries, all of a sudden the Sin in the Sentence came, and he had surgery done his vocals and retrained them. And all of a sudden, I mean, you listen to the titular song, the Sin in the Sentence, and the chorus, it's just like, he's back. And it was so much fun. So it's definitely something where it's like different aspects can easily happen, where changes are going to happen in your music, changes are going to happen in your vocals, and it's, life experience might do the exact same as well, just because all of a sudden you might resonate with a different sound a little bit more. However, it's just the thing is when it comes to making music, basically in summary, when it comes to making music, always make sure that the sound you're making and the lyrics you're writing and just everything with it is you're doing it because that's what you want to do.
Yeah. That's good. End it.
That is a good way to end it.
Yeah.
And
Let's
taking
go
a look at
with
the,
Take
I was,
away
Point. Yeah.
I would say, take a look at the timing right now. We are almost at 2 hours and 20 minutes for this.
Yeah.
So-
Wow.
Did we take a long?
Kind of loud. We didn't expect it to be that long.
Hey, but this is why I always like doing like that open-ended conversation kind of thing where it's like I have certain things I want to talk about, but not many questions because we can just get talking on something all of a sudden. Like when we were talking about what was going on in Singapore with the music scene, like I didn't expect us to get to that, but all of a sudden we started talking about it. We went on that for about 20-25 minutes, and that was totally worth it because now I've like for me personally, and especially for the rest of the audience as well, got a much better understanding about the music scene, especially for a band like Igneous Sons over in Singapore right now, and then also where your music can kind of start getting a little bit more traction, not only in the Southeast Asia, but on other parts of the world as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, US fans, for helping us if you can.
Well, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try and market this the best I can. So we'll do our best to get you guys, people listen to you. And when it comes down to that Song of the Day feature, remember it is July 11th. So we will be putting that out on that day, and I can't wait for everyone to hear it because it'll be interesting. We'll say the least.
All right.
Wow.
Especially after listening to this podcast, it's going to be like, oh my God, there's their music. I can actually listen to it if I forgot about it. Because I'm not going to let people forget about it. We're not going to do it.
Yeah, but thanks for
Thank you so much, Kevin, for having
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
Fun.
guys
Thanks
for being.
for your time.
Thank you guys for being on. And two final remarks. One, I really hope this coronavirus thing's ends so that I can end up getting over to Singapore or wherever you guys are playing in Southeast Asia, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, Igneous Sons is playing. I'm going to walk in, all of a sudden it's going to be like, you guys are playing. It's like, okay. Got a bigger crowd there all of a sudden. Okay, who's the crazy white guy starting the pit? Oh, it's Kevin. See, I'm waiting for that moment.
Yeah.
Please.
And the other thing,
Hoping that to happen.
and the other remark is, please let me know when you guys are releasing more music so we can maybe do something like this again, maybe do some sort of a collaboration with the release of it, get it out to as many ears as possible. We'll try something like that. So let me know when new music comes out.
Sure.
Fun.
Sure.
Alrighty. Archie, Ray, Manuel, and William, thank you for being on the Chord Progression Podcast. You guys are Igneous Sons, and everyone, if you're trying to find them online, take a look in the description of the YouTube video or in the podcast because all the links for their stuff is going to be there.
All right. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
All right, thanks,
you,
guys.
thank
Take
Thanks for
care.
having us.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
Well, folks, that was my interview with Igneous Sons out of Singapore. So we're reaching all new corners of the globe. We've done American bands, we've done a lot of European bands, but bands from Singapore, from Southeast Asia, we're expanding our reach, baby. And we're going to keep on expanding that reach as we go along because there are so many great rock bands, so many great metal bands in the world that honestly, a lot of us don't even know exist right now. Will we know they exist in 10 years? Hell yeah, we're going to know they exist in 10 years. So why not get on them now? This is the perfect place to do it. You can find Igneous Sons social media, Spotify, all the music stuff. You can find them in the links in the podcast description, or if you're on YouTube, in the video description. So I want to thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Chord Progression Podcast. This was a fun, informative one. And let me tell you, at the end of the episode, after we stopped recording, one thing we did was to end our time together. And this interview was we potentially have another one coming up with them at some point within the next year in 2021. But we also ended with each member of the band taking a shot of whiskey. I didn't have whiskey, so I drank gin. Also should have gone with tequila, but it was tequila or gin, and gin was the closest, so I drank me some gin. Yeah. Alrighty, thank you for listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. Thank you for following us, and thank you for listening to Igneous Sons. Their song will be featured as a Song of the Day selection on July 11th here on our My Song of the Day stuff, so please get ready for that. Please get in with this band because we got some more great rock music, and we're always bringing the bands that you're going to want to listen to in the future. So thank you for listening. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you by My Sunday Rock 2008. And you guys know how I end every single one of these episodes with a big, healthy, and hearty see